HBCUs, HBCUs, HBCUs.
All right. Good morning, or good afternoon. I'm sure it's morning somewhere. But good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for joining us on day 2 of our 2023 Youth College and Career Excellence Summit. Today, we're going to meet from about 3 to 6 p.m. And I want to just welcome everybody back. I don't know if we have any new individuals who didn't join us yesterday, but if you did not, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Christie Murray, the Chief Executive Officer of Educational Excellence Incorporated, and I will be the host for the summit today. And if you are returning, welcome back for the second day of the summit. Just as a reminder, this event is being recorded for promotional purposes, but also for use for students and families who weren't able to attend live with us. Also, your lines have been muted just to minimize any disruptions, but if you want to ask a question, feel free to come off mute, ask your question. This is kind of informal, and or you can put a message in the chat and we will try to get to your questions as we go along. And we want this to be interactive, so please ask your questions throughout the summit today. And stay tuned. You want to stick around to the end because there are opportunities to still win giveaways, and also we want to announce our scholarship winners from this year's summit. So you'll have to stick around. Next, I want to do a brief recap of day 1 of the summit. All right, so yesterday we had a full day from 10 to 3 o'clock, had some opening remarks, and I shared a lot of impactful information with you all about how to get started with your college and career planning and how to graduate or get to college and graduate debt-free. Hopefully y'all remember some of the gems that I shared, because what I like for a couple of you to do is, can you share in the chat 1 or 2 things you took away? Actually, let me go through the recap, and then if you took anything away from any of the sessions, I want you to put it in the chat. All right, Tara, fellow Hamptonian. All right, thank you very much for joining. So before you put anything in the chat, I also want to say I teed up a new career assessment tool called ONET, if you remember that correctly. And that is a opportunity for you to take an assessment and to start thinking about careers. It's a great assessment. It not only gives you insight when you put in information about you that you're interested in, it'll spit out areas of interest for you. It'll spit out different careers they align you with, and even more research like the education and training, knowledge, skills, and abilities. And also, it'll spit out different salary ranges that you can consider for those majors. Then we took a break for lunch. We came back and I shared some gems on the NCAA eligibility requirements for scholar athletes. So hopefully you found some value there. And also we talked about college funding strategies, things you need to be thinking about if you were junior, senior, as early as middle school, how to save money, how to make sure you have the money you need for college or for your educational pursuits, life after high school. And then we spent some time on our scholarship search. I hope you guys remember that. We had a scenario, and we were helping Gloria pick out some things about her story, some unique things about her life. And then we want to help find some different type of scholarships she could apply for. So we shared some strategies there. And then also we wrapped up with instructions in our closing remarks about how you could take advantage of the scholarship application and opportunity that I extended to you yesterday, and with the possibility of earning some funds for scholarships, and they will be announced later on today. So if you would, and I know some of you have already gotten started, at least drop one thing, if you were with us yesterday, one thing that you learned maybe something that you didn't already know that will help you moving forward, whether you are in middle school, high school, college, even as an adult or a parent, because I'm learning new things every day. And we should all be on a quest for continuous learning. One of the things that I did share, and I love reiterating this to young people, whether you plan to go to college or not, whether you plan to join the military or not, or go directly out into the workforce, one thing we all have in common is that we all have to continue to learn. Every job you work, they're going to train you. You're going to need education. You're going to need a certificate or certification. They're going to want you to do on-the-job training. So you're not going to get around in life. It's a life lesson. Life is about continuous learning. And so that's the one thing we have in common. So let's see what we're getting in the chat. I'm excited to, I'm going to read off just a few of the things. College choice is important. This is very true. That you have to plan your career out. Thank you, Kebab. You have to plan. Everything you'll hear me talk about in life, whether it's about college, careers, finances, funding, relationships, anything you want to do. If you want to take a trip, do a little bit of planning. If you like spontaneous trips, that's great, but you should still do a little bit of planning so that you can get from point A to point B. Make sure Google what represents you when you're looking for scholarships. Yes, we said to use Google both as a noun and a verb. Go to Google and Google some things, search for some things. So pertaining to scholarships, update your scholar profile. Good job, Evan. One, if you don't have one, create one, but most of you should have one after yesterday's assignment. But if you don't, it's an opportunity to create one. Also, don't think it's too early to start thinking about your future. Exactly, Kennedy. If you're in middle school, guess what? You're ahead of the game because you have the most time to prepare. So don't let it slip through your fingers. Use your time wisely. Start on those letters of recommendation and use the template Miss Christie shared. I shared an awesome template with y'all about how you can create your own letter of recommendation, slide it to your recommender, and let them customize it from there. They're going to appreciate it because you're going to save them tons of time. Learn about your scholar profile you never knew. Thank you. Become familiar with your counselors. Exactly. Very, very important. The new FAFSA dates for 2023. Instead of October it opening up, we talked about around the December timeframe. And every year while you're in college, you need to what? Reapply, renew your FAFSA application. Make sure you update it. Good job. Learn about different types of scholarships you didn't know existed. Yes, Ivy, every day, even as I'm sharing scholarships with you, I still learn about scholarships I've never heard of. And so there's too many out there for us to make excuses, whether you are in high school, college, graduate school, medical school, law school. There are scholarships on every level if you're interested in rolling up your sleeves and putting a little bit of sweat equity in and doing the work. But if you use the templates in my books and workbooks, you doing the work will be a lot easier than your competition when they get ready to do the work. You won't get 100% of the stuff you don't apply for. Jim, bingo. Thank you, Angelique. You are absolutely on point. I have students asking me all the time, I didn't get any scholarships. And I said, well, how many did you apply for? Well, none. I said, you know what? I appreciate this, but this conversation is now over. You got to apply if you want to actually get a scholarship. Follow directions. These things aren't just about college and career planning. These things are about life lessons. The younger you are and the earlier you get the concept of follow directions, you will be so well off. Answer the questions that people ask you. Don't keep going off track, because you can go off track and eliminate yourself from the competition real quick with me. Because I don't have time to waste time, and I'm not going to chase people down to find out, hey, can you go back and redo this and follow the directions? Not doing it. It's important to help your children get organized through the process. Yes, both students and parents have a role in this process. And I'm going to steal this from one of our AKA youth programs that we started last year. I love it. And I'm going to use it. Parents should guide and the student should run it and decide. So, and I'm going to steal that from our Youth Leadership Institute, but I love the concept of everybody has a role. Parents are there for support, financial support, moral support, academic support, all those different things. But it's really the child, the youth, your responsibility. This is your future. So nobody should be more excited and more serious about your future than you. So everybody need to be handling their business, basically. Dates and deadlines are important. Absolutely. Create a separate email. Very, very important. I still use the one I created with my sons, their senior year at high school. I'm still using those email addresses, and so are they. And your email address should be for business purposes. You are about business when you're talking about your career, college, and your future. So make sure it's something. My son's, for example, was like Cam Lewis College at Gmail. Something that'll be easy for you to remember, but something you and your parents can have access to. And this is Tracy's mom. Continue to apply for scholarships early and continue to plan your future. Yes, apply for scholarships early and often. And once you get to college, keep applying for scholarships until you graduate from college and you have every penny of the money you needed to get through 4 years without taking out a lot of student loan debts. And also, if you are in college, 2 things. 1, migrate your scholar profile over into a resume, and 2, use that new resume to look for internships every summer. Federal government agencies, companies, nonprofits, so many people are looking for interns, and you should use your intern search in a very similar way. Those same strategies you use for a scholarship, use those same strategies for an internship. Google it, finding those things that are unique about you, and using Google to help find internships. It'll pay off. So excellent job. You guys summarized a lot of the key things we talked about yesterday in just, like 5 minutes or less. So I'm very encouraged by that. So today we're going to continue to build on what we did yesterday. So when we ended yesterday, 10 of you, thank you to all 10 students who successfully submitted their scholarship applications. Where's my thing that give me the hand clap? Where's my reaction? Okay, y'all deserve a hand clap on that. There you go. So thank you to the 10 students who took up the challenge, had the courage. I like that word. When young people rise to the occasion, I like to use the word courage, because it's very easy to second guess yourself or to doubt yourself. But for you to follow through and exhibit the level of courage that you all did yesterday. My phone and my email was pinging yesterday for good reasons. I know there were a few technology glitches, mostly due to depending on the internet browser and the type of computer you use. The Mac computers seem to have more problems than the PCs did, Windows PCs. But we sorted out most of those technical difficulties. And thank you all for your diligence and your patience working through that process. Now, as we kick off day 2, I would love to give y'all some feedback. And this is for everybody, whether you applied or you didn't. I took the time as we evaluated the scholarship applications to give you some feedback on how you can further strengthen your packages moving forward based on some of the things we saw. And this is the reason why I had you do this assignment. It wasn't to beat anybody up or to just create busy work. It's so that I could come back and give you real-time feedback on what evaluators, whether for a college application, scholarships, internships, jobs, what people who are evaluating you are thinking about as they're doing it. So I'm going to start with the application. I appreciate, and the things in green are positives. So I always like to highlight positives and not just focus on what needs to be improved. But I received 10 applications by the deadline, despite those technical glitches that we experienced. So great job to all of you who worked through your issues and didn't get frustrated, who emailed me and reached out long before the deadline. I appreciate all of you, and thank you for that. Now, I also noticed that, you know what, and I find this to be common with young adults. I had at least 3 applicants not provide me their full address. What in the world is that about? Now, this is important. When you don't provide your full address, let's say I had picked your application and everything's good and I wanted to mail you a check, and all you provided me is 111 Elm Street, but you live in Texas. I don't have your zip code. How would I get your check to you? And why would I even take the time to find your address instead of moving on to the next applicant? I'm finding, because young adults do so much on their telephones, that basic skills like your complete address is not being fully communicated. In writing, half of you don't know your zip codes. And so I'm going to underscore and really stress, learn your full address, learn how to fill out an envelope, be able to tell people and rattle off, I'm at 113 Elm Street, Houston, Texas, 11190, whatever your zip code is. You should know these basic things. Now, I only know, when I saw it the first time, I was like, they left that off. And the second time I was like, oh, they left that off. And the third time I was like, yeah, we need to raise this as a red flag. So I don't care if you're in middle school all the way up through college, get in the habit of providing your full information to people. If this is not shorthand texting on a mobile device. This is about handling business. Also, one of the applicants, I had a really hard time. I don't know if you took screenshots with your phone, but I'm telling you these things because if you're doing this on a real application, it's not going to work. But the images that were attached to the application were not legible. I couldn't see it. It was so blurry. Put my glasses on, I enlarged it on the screen, and I couldn't read it. And it hurt your application. So whenever you are submitting an application, click on every attachment yourself and make sure you can visually see, make sure it's what you think it is and that you can read it. If you can't read it, nobody else is going to take the time to try to read it either. So I wanted to highlight that. Also, for the scholar profile, the one-page resume, the positive, good effort by all who turned it in. You guys captured your goals, your education, your activities very well. So another hand clap for that. But I also want to highlight that a few of those came in with formatting inconsistencies. Whether the one scholar profile had different font sizes throughout, or it had different fonts in general, or different colors. I would highly recommend, for business purposes, unless someone instructs otherwise, be as consistent. Pay attention to those details. So not only are you going to follow directions, but when you submit something, it needs to be submitted with quality and with excellence. Pay attention to what you are doing and how it looks and how somebody else is going to have an experience with what you put together. It should not be looking all chopped up and unorganized. I get distracted by the disorganization, and it's hard for me to take you serious after that. So pay attention to that. Also, some of you did not provide your years. So on your scholar profile, you might have said, I made the honor roll, but then someone left it 20XX to the present. What does that mean to me? It means you didn't take the time to fully develop out your scholar profile, and that hurt you. It could have been 2018 to 2023, or some of you just put honor roll, but you didn't put any years next to it at all. That's going to hurt you. I don't know if you was in honor roll in the 3rd grade, but we're in high school or college now. So you have to put a disclaimer in on what it is you are talking about and the time period you're working with. It's not optional, not if you want to be your package to stand out. And then some sections were missing areas on the scholar profile. And what it said to me was, one of the individuals took a resume and just said, you know what, I'm going to tweak it slightly and put the resume in. But it didn't have any interest. It didn't have any relevant courses. It didn't have any honors or accomplishments. So I took off points for that. Why? Because that wasn't a scholar profile. That was an employment resume. While you can use a scholar profile and some of the elements from it in the future, or even simultaneously for a resume, but please, they are not the same thing. So those are important. And when you get ready to organize, like let's under the heading of extracurricular activities, and you have 4 activities, the activity that should be at the top of your bulleted list is the most recent one. So it should be 2023 activity, then 2022 activity, then 2021 activity. It should not be hobbled and jobbled up where you got a 2019 one, then a 2023, then a 2018. It should be the most current one. The next bullet should be the year right below it, all the way down. So please pay attention to that level of detail. Follow instructions, pay attention to details. Photos. Not all candidates or applicants provided a photo. I think a couple of you didn't have a checklist. Remember, I talked about yesterday, have a checklist of what somebody is asking you for so you don't leave anything out. You lost points because you didn't submit everything I asked you for. And then two, some of the photos were beautiful. Y'all are so handsome and gorgeous. However, comma, some of your photos weren't professional. Now, I know y'all are young adults, and so I didn't take off anything for this, but I did want to give a courtesy recommendation. Your photo, everybody needs a professional photo. I'm going to put my camera on video for a second. It should be, hopefully you can see my picture. It should be a headshot photo. No distracting background, no distracting images that you're wearing, those sort of things. It should be in a neutral color outfit like black suit, blue suit, white shirt, brown, something neutral and non-distracting. Now, I would not call what I'm wearing now, by the way, I'm wearing my tie-dye Hampton University t-shirt today to rep my HBCU, but Miss Christie would never take a professional picture, and this shirt is too distractive. I got 3 colors going on. It's a t-shirt, not a professional shirt, button down, or a suit jacket. So every last one of you, I don't care if you are in the 6th grade all the way up through college, and even parents. So if you're an adult on here and you don't have a professional headshot and somebody called you tomorrow and say, hey, Miss Natasha, I need you to send me your bio and a picture of you. You need to be able to grab that picture, that professional headshot, and send it over. So if you don't have one, write it down in your college plan on your homework assignment. Stand up against a blank wall in your home. It doesn't have to be fancy, but you need a professional headshot moving forward. For your essays, there were some really great essays. So hats off to my great writers. Your essays were compelling. I really felt a personal connection to some of your writing, and I definitely learned more about y'all through your essays. That is it. You should be telling the story of who you are, and how several of you started your essays off was highly impactful. I mean, like a trauma situation or something else that happened that was like, oh my gosh, you caught my attention. And I appreciate taking the time to think that through. Some of you use really great statistics in your essays. I think one essay I read talked about the number of females or African American or women in a particular career field, and in that particular career field. And the statistics just really brought it to life. And it really helped me to understand why this major in this college mattered to that individual and how they felt like as a female, they could make a difference and be impactful in that area. So great job on the essays. Now, one of the things I would caution with writing in general, when you are writing professional essays, personal statements, that sort of thing, eliminate the use of contractions. I won't, I don't, I didn't, I can't. It should be I do not, I did not, I cannot, I will not. So try to eliminate the use of contractions. Also, I had to take off points because one individual sent me a screenshot of a group. It was a nice group. They had a lot of followers, but it was called Scholarship for Scholars. That's not my exclusive group. It's somebody else's. My group is called Scholarship with an S, Scholarships for Scholars. Again, paying attention to details matters. So I had to take off points for screenshotting the wrong group. Any questions, comments, thoughts on the feedback? All right, well, if not, we're gonna dive right in and move along. So day 2, we are going to talk a little bit between now and 4 o'clock about entrepreneurship and how to start your own business and why you might want to consider starting your own business. And then we're going to hear from one of our guests, one of our 2 guests, our real estate guest, Mr. Maybe that's a premonition, but Mr. Douglas Witherspoon. He's going to talk about real estate for young adults in terms of careers and home ownership. Then we're going to take a brief break, 10-minute break, and come back, and we're going to hear from Mr. Jonathan Wright about financial planning for young adults. Now, yesterday, y'all spent most of the day with me. Today, we have some guests coming into our house. So I would invite you all and encourage you all to make sure that you treat our house guests with hospitality. And like my mama always used to say, don't embarrass me in front of company. So make sure that you're interactive. If you have questions, take advantage of their expertise and ask your questions. All right. And then we'll close out today with a few remarks and our scholarship announcements. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and starting your own business. How many of you in the chat are interested or ever thought about being in business for yourself? Just say yes in the chat. Even if you're an adult, if you have a business as an adult, or if you're thinking about starting a business, and it's never too late, even if you're in your like 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to start a business, let me know if it's something you've thought about. Okay, good. Quite a few of you have given it some thought. Excellent. Excellent. And guess what? It is perfectly okay as you're thinking about your futures to think about how entrepreneurship fits into your future. I would encourage every last one of you to, but maybe owning a business might not be for everyone, but I certainly encourage you to be thinking about multiple streams of income. I never encourage anyone, really, young adults or adults, to only have one source of income. You never know what can happen, and you always want to position yourself so that if one opportunity dries up, you've got some other things in place that you can quickly leverage and pivot to make sure that you eat and you can maintain your lifestyle. So with that being said, I do want to put my disclaimer in because I am going to share a few things with you, and they're just general. So my disclaimer is only general business information and insights will be shared in this summit. So to ensure that you operate your business within the laws and in a manner that protects your interests, feel free to seek legal or other professional advice as appropriate. So even as you hear me sharing general things about not home ownership, entrepreneurship, and multiple streams of income and that sort of thing, always do your own research and seek professional advice that may be needed in different areas. Now, yesterday, y'all heard me talking about my sons quite a bit. I have one son who is a senior in college on the left, who goes to Old Dominion University, and one on the right who goes to Norfolk State. He's the one who plays football, obviously, with the uniform on, and he's majoring in computer science. So I have a STEM baby, which is great. And he's the one on Division I football scholarship plus, meaning academic scholarships as well. But guess what they have, y'all? They both have businesses. One on the left has a clothing brand called Prolific Streetwear, and the one on the right, he has a photography business called Vivid Camera Shots, because his name is Cameron with a K. So he kind of word played that into the name of his business with camera. But here's what I want you to know. They're in school, they're hustling, they're studying, just like you. And yet they realize that they can do more than one thing well, and more than one thing well at a time, which is the reason why I love introducing young adults to entrepreneurship. Now, for my college students that are on the summit today, answer me this question. When you got to college, did you run into anybody in your dorm, at your college, who did nails, cut hair, did braids, did hair, sold other things that you might have utilized or wanted to utilize? Kennedy says yes. Okay, Kebab says yes. Guess what? They're both college students and entrepreneurs. Where you have a demand or a gap or a need, there's an opportunity. And I want you to always think about ways to make money in terms of what's missing and what do people need. So good. So Isabella and Tracy, anybody want to share what that business commodity was? Were they doing hair, nails, cutting hair, making shirts? What were the business types that y'all ran into on college campus? I'll give y'all a second because I know you're probably typing. But I'm curious to see what kind of business did you run into with college students? Every single thing you mentioned. Okay, Kennedy said they was doing all of those things I mentioned. I remember 30 years ago, back when I was at Hampton, we had entrepreneurs too. Okay, somebody cuts hair, design clothing, and rug making. Neat. So all of those things you still need. My sons were really concerned. One of their biggest concerns about going to college, and I know this is the same with women and men. Oh my God, when I get to college campus, who's going to cut my hair? Because most men don't just like anybody cutting their hair, just like women don't like just anybody doing their hair or nails. And so they're really like, yo, I got to find somebody who's good, who's relatively in my budget, but who's going to be convenient to cut my hair. For the first semester, my oldest son was driving all the way back home to get his hair cut. I was like, no, time out. We can't do this. My youngest son, what he finally did for Christmas this year is ask me for his own set of clippers. So guess what? I stopped buying Christmas gifts that were Jordans. I'm not buying shoes and clothing anymore for my college age sons. I buy things that they can use to grow more assets or to grow their business. So I'll buy clippers. For my youngest son, I helped him with photography equipment. If he needed a new lens, my oldest son, if he needed to get some more print vinyl for a new shirt he wanted. So I would give them resources that would help them to make more money. And now in our home, we're all about how do you use money to make money? And so I want to share that with you. Also, I see in the chat, one of the roommates did crochet. Oh, actually sold a lot. Good. I like the idea of the rug making too. Someone else's roommate did hair and beautification. Oh, makeup artists would be good too. And then I have several girlfriends. They're adults like me, but they recently started businesses. One has a shea butter collection, the best shea butters I've ever used. They all smell great. And then another one of my girlfriends just started making her own perfumes. So, and I'm sharing these things with you because I want y'all to know that you don't have to be overly complicated with what you're doing, but get the ideas flowing as far as what you can do to start thinking about multiple streams of income, possibly being an entrepreneur and making something and being able to sell your own product. But I also want you to take a look at this video because what that's going to require is for you to take action and to think about how you use your time differently. So watch this video briefly.
You know, for me, one of the ways that I was actually able to get to $10 million after tax by the age of 21 was through focus.
Imagine what it would be like if you could change your life from 0 to 6 figures in revenue in less than a year. Take note of everything that I say because these implementations will make you part of the 1% Club. Now, becoming an entrepreneur requires you to make the smallest of changes to acquire remarkable results. Not just in your business, but in your habits. Life habits, to be exact. It's a very underrated concept that 99% of people on planet Earth have troubles with. Your habits play a huge role in your ability to seek out issues to increase efficiency. I'm going to bring up one term that I want you to remember for the rest of this video. Get your pen and paper, pause if you have to, and write time equals money. The top 1% happen to be one of the most time-sensitive people out there. They've rewired their brain to identify bad habits and immediately look to resolve before things hit the fan. Understand that habits compound over time, and that includes your bad habits. And this visual is a representation on how your habit is formed. Habit formation is the process by which a behavior becomes progressively more automatic through repetition. Neuroscientists call this long-term potentiation. Let's take a deeper look at the trajectory here. In the beginning, a habit requires a good deal of energy to perform. Over the next few days of repetition, it actually becomes easier and only requires some conscious attention. Eventually, the habit becomes more automatic than conscious. Beyond this threshold is the habit line. The behavior can be done more or less without thinking, and that is your new formed habit. Fun fact, according to recent studies, it takes about 18 to 21 days to form a real habit. And here are your action steps. Take an hour or two to take a step back and see where you waste most of your time. Identify your bad habits. It could be scrolling on TikTok, partying too much, playing too much video games, bad addictions. The list goes on, and maybe now you are realizing that you fall within these categories. You are subconsciously checking your phone, you overconsume rather than create. These are distractions that were invented to keep you from achieving your dreams. And once you realize how this game works, you can take your steps to freedom. Remember, time equals money, so you must find out where your time is going. Let's do some simple math. There are 24 hours in a day, and there's 7 days a week. 24 times 7 is 168, and if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you get 56 hours. Now subtract the total hours in a week, 168, by 56, and what you're left with is 112 hours. Sleep is down, but how many hours are you eating? Let's say you got 3 meals a day with a time of 1 hour per meal. 3 times 7 is 21, and you can't forget exercise, 1 hour per day, 5 times a week. Just enough to keep your body physically and mentally in shape. Now for most people, you're either in school or working a 9 to 5. So let's pretend that equates to only 50 hours per week. Now when you take all those numbers, 168 minus 56 minus 21 minus 5 minus 50, you are left with 36 hours. And that 36 hours is the time you can put into developing new habits, chasing your dreams, and so on. Now I know this information is something nobody has taught you before, which is exactly why I'm here. I'm looking to help you break out. I'm looking to make dreams come true. I want to show you the true power of manifestation. The number 36 should be your new favorite number, and what you do with the number 36 is totally up to you. But if you want to sneak into the 1% club, do this. 7 hours of reading per week, 10 hours of starting a side hustle. Keep in mind that these numbers are totally up to you. And even with 17 hours of self-development, you are still left with 19 hours of free time. Is that not enough time to hang out with your friends? I think so. Remember, your habits compound over time, so make sure you break down your schedule and write down the things you want to work on. Figure out a way to make your bad habits invisible. For example, if you have an addiction with snacking too much throughout the day, put your snacks in a place that is difficult to reach, or just don't buy it at all. If you have a habit of checking your phone too much, consider turning off your notifications or going on airplane mode. All bad habits can be made invisible. You just have to figure out a way to keep it out of sight in the most effortless way possible. At this point, you're probably wondering, Adrian, what makes these habits so significant? Aren't we supposed to be speaking about entrepreneurship? You need to be in a mindset where you are ready for just about anything. I've spoken to a number of entrepreneurs, and some of them have made over 7 figures in their first few years. To my surprise, they've all said similar things. Break down your week, break down your day. Identify your good and bad habits, then work off of that. Ask yourself, am I in the right headspace to start an online business? 99% of you? No, 99% of you are stuck in a rat race, a system made to destroy your productivity levels. From the moment you were born, your career is pre-picked. You hear it from your teachers, your parents, maybe even your friends. At a young age, your mind is conditioned to fall into the system. The imagination of once a young kid who had the belief of getting a nice car, beautiful wife, a nice house, has completely been washed out. It's due to the drastic changes in social norms, ongoing inventions of apps, the list goes on. The rat race is specifically designed to keep you from your goals. They tell you to dream about where you want to be, but you can only dream when you sleep. You need to take responsibility in your life and take action. You need to become your own character. Everything starts with a thought. You are the only person who determines what is risky and what is safe. Anyone else's opinion shouldn't alter your beliefs. The truth is everyone has a unique way as to how the world exists to them. 8 billion people in the world are stuck in their own bubble. They are all in their own little world. They will do whatever it takes to satisfy them, and you will do the same. Earlier in this video, I mentioned a very credible entrepreneur named Iman Gaji, and he goes through something called monk mode. Basically what he does is
10 minutes a day of meditation. Mandatory is exercise of at least 30 minutes a day. And the third one is no alcohol or weed.
I've actually tried monk mode from March through May. 3 months of no drinking, smoking, partying, sticking to a very strict, high-performance schedule and diet, and not only did I see improvements in my habits, but also my results in business. Now is monk mode for you? Well, prepare to go through a mental warfare. By the way, monk mode isn't something that you have to do all year round. I recommend trying it for a minimum of 3 weeks or more. After 7 days of pure discipline, you will find you have more focus, motivation, energy, and respect for yourself. I'm in the business of teaching people how to create businesses. Without good habits, you'll never be able to identify the bad issues in your business. The more issues you are able to solve within your business, the more a customer or client will trust you. You have to be a problem solver. Understand that you are going to have to make sacrifices. These are things that you've probably heard of before. Failure is only a lesson, and you may go through a number of businesses before you feel that you have a successful one. To give you a quick rundown, it took me about a year and 10 months to figure out a way to make over 6 figures in 1 month. Now that might sound quick, but it's possible when you identify the good and bad habits in your life. It makes it easier to identify the good and bad out of your business. So, should you get started on entrepreneurship? In my opinion, I've summed it up to this. Whatever you do, focus on yourself first. Make change in your habits so that way you're not tied down to a chair. The chair being that matrix. Now here's the thing if you're trying to escape. I've taught thousands of kids how to identify good or bad habits, start their own online business, and achieve freedom by joining our academy. We have a team that teaches hundreds of people how to change their life. Imagine what it would be like doing everything you wanted to do. Imagine what it would be like driving the car you always wanted. Imagine what it would be like retiring your parents. Just think about it. Join us in the revolution of becoming the top 1%. We'll be with you every step of the way. In entrepreneurship, you have to come from a generous standpoint where you're willing to push yourself past your limits. You have to believe in yourself. I believe in you. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. You're officially in the End Club. Quick question, what is your experience and opinion on entrepreneurship? I've created this video based off of my own personal.
All right. Awesome. So I am encouraged by this video. I hope you all are too. A couple of things that stuck out with me was maybe at the very end, as a parent. I love what the young man, what he said about retiring your parents. That caught my attention. I don't know if other parents caught that, but I have this vision of someday my sons retiring me. So I'm pouring and investing in them and supporting them with the hopes that that'll be reciprocal some point. But what stuck out to you all in this video, hearing from other young adults who are pushing and are making their dreams a reality and willing to become entrepreneurs? Anybody want to come off mute or let us know in the chat? Let's see. Yep, Jonathan Wright says he loves that concept about retiring parents. Yes. How dedicated they are. Watch the wasted time. I love what they said about time equals money. He said, if you don't remember anything else from his video, time equals money. Write that down, he said. Failure is only a lesson. You have to fail. You have to be comfortable with failing. You're not going to succeed at everything because you learn through things when they don't go well all the time. Eden says you have to push yourself. You all are absolutely spot on with this. So I want you to think about that as we talk about entrepreneurship. You know, he started out in this video talking about life habits. Everything you do, whether it's college, careers, entrepreneurship, exercise, it's really about the habits that you form and that you have the discipline and commitment to see through. So think about those things as we talk about entrepreneurship.
You know, for me, one of the
So I want to share just a few facts. Did you know that almost 99% of the businesses in the US are small businesses? And they employ over 61 million workers. So small businesses have a great place in our country and in our society. So I never, when I introduce my businesses now, I never say, oh, I got a little business. No, I don't. I stopped doing that and just say, I have a business. And so I would encourage you to think about it and small in terms of the number of employees and maybe income size, but not small in terms of the value that you can bring to your community and into different industries that you're targeting. More small businesses are owned by males than females. And 19.4% of small businesses are owned by minorities. So minorities they make up less than 20% of small businesses. So there are opportunities out here for all of us. In fact, a lot of entities, governments, federal, state entities, and more are looking to give more business to woman-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, small-owned businesses, and maybe even a combination of those. So something to think about, and even veterans. And veterans make up about 6.4% of small businesses. So there are certainly opportunities, and there's some stigmas about why minorities or females or veterans aren't getting more involved with small business and entrepreneurship. And a lot of it comes down to we might not know what it takes to become a small business, or it seems so daunting and overwhelming that we think it's out of reach. But guess what? It's not out of reach to any of us, and especially not you all. So I'm going to share 6 tips or strategies to help you to think about starting a business. Some of these you might be thinking, oh, I don't have a lot of time, or, you know, it's going to distract away from my studies. But I don't want you to think about it like that. I want you to think about it as a journey and not just a marathon that you're running. You can make incremental progress. And I say this for even adults. Make incremental progress. Do something more than nothing every day, every week towards your business idea, and you would be surprised how that will manifest itself. So we're going to talk about 6 things: identifying your products and services, conducting market research, choosing a name and a structure, creating a plan. Oh, there goes Miss Christie again with this plan stuff. She's even saying have a plan for a business. She don't do nothing without a plan. So follow suit. Registering your business. Every state has different requirements. Know what your state's requirements are, and then focusing on your infrastructure. You have to think about the back end pieces that you need to have in place that'll help you to run your business easier. So first, I'm just going to keep it simple talk. You got to think about what you want to do. So all those individuals we just heard about at different colleges who started a business, they probably started with what they're either passionate about what they're really good at, what they have talents around, what there's a demand for, and where there's gaps. So if you hit a college campus and if your nails and on campus are looking like my nails are looking today, I need to hit the nail shop this week, y'all. But if I hit a college campus looking like this, one of the first things I'm going to try to do is find me someone who can do my nails. So there's a gap. So if you hit college and you're like, there's nobody who can do my nails, guess what you say? But you know what? I do nails well. And I just heard 8 people say they don't know where to go. They can't drive. Most freshmen don't have cars their freshman year. So guess what? Even more reason why you have to have services on campus. Someone asked a question, does a small business college student, how does that affect their financial reporting? It depends on how much you make. The IRS has certain guidelines. First of all, if you have an LLC, limited liability corporation, those taxes pass through your individual taxes, your personal individual taxes. So it gets counted as income, as if you worked a job. So as a student, as long as you stay, and don't quote me because I am not a CPA on the exact number, but a student can make up to a certain amount without it significantly impacting their financial aid. You have to consult, again, with a licensed professional to give you a little bit of insight onto what that threshold is, because I don't want to throw out a number and you say, well, you know what Miss Christie said, and she's wrong. But there's a window in which you can stay within and still be fine. But if you're making millions of dollars, I think you can cover your tuition costs, I'm just saying. But if you're making $5K a year, I don't know if that's going to significantly hinder you from getting financial aid. But check with the financial aid office at your school and or your tax preparer and get their insights on that question. It's a really good question. But the first step with any business is figuring out what you can do. So if you do something really well, whether you're on a college campus or off, or in general, like my sons, if I go back to them real quick, I'll tell you what the value is in their story. While one of the sons actually, where was it? While one of them has the clothing brand on the left, the right one takes all the photos. This photo that he's in, guess who took it? He contracted with his brother, the photographer, to take the pictures for his brand. So what I encourage young people to do is build a network with you and your friends who do different things. Y'all bring different skills to the table and y'all leverage each other. Everybody else is doing it all over the place. And we have to do a better job of building, instead of us feeling like we're crabs in a bucket and, oh, they can't be doing better than me. No, we need to be saying, hey, you do something different from me. How do we tap into each other's capabilities? So if you are starting a business, I would encourage you to make sure that you think about what you can make, what you can do in terms of a service, whether a service is something that you give, but you don't necessarily have a tangible product, a shirt, a book to hand to somebody, but maybe you review essays, or maybe you publicly speak, or maybe you're doing webinars like I'm doing now and you get paid for it, because I actually do get paid to do these kind of webinars sometimes. So that's a service. Or if you do consulting, that's a service you're offering. Or wedding planning, those things are services, or decorating. So think about what those things are and what you want to sell. That's the first step in any business endeavor. Secondly, conduct your market research. Now, don't just jump out there and say, I'm gonna make battery operated lights on the bottom of some shoes. And then you're like, well, who wants that? Did you have a market for it? Did people say they actually would wear that or need it? So doing research will help you to understand more about where's the market for your products. Are there people who really want it? Are there gaps? Are there problems you're solving with what you're creating and what you're doing? Are there deficiencies in certain areas or geographical parts of the country, community, school? Is there something that says this is a need? Talk to people. Your research can be conversations. It could be online research, but talk to people and find out, is there a market for what you want to do? You would hate to put so much time and energy into it only to realize we don't want that crap. Why would I want a battery operated shoe? Well, how am I gonna charge the shoe up if I'm wearing it? So those kind of things you want to think through. Customers, who would be your customers? So if you have a nail shop or you're doing hair on a college campus, or you're cutting hair, one of the questions you can answer is, my college students are my demographic right now. When you graduate from college, you might open your own shop. So then anyone who needs, hair care or haircuts is your customer. And where do they live? So you don't want to open a barbershop on the same street where there's 8 barbershops. You want to go to an area, you want to look for areas where they're building a brand new community over here. If there's no hair shops in a 30-mile radius, this is where I want to post up, because nobody wants to drive 30 minutes every time they get a haircut. So those are the kind of things we want you to start thinking about. And what is the income range and the employment rate of the environment you're serving? Because that's going to tell you how much you want to charge for your haircuts. So if you're somewhere and they're very lucrative, upscale environment, you might charge $50-$60 for a haircut. Or you might be in an area where people just don't financially have it that way, and the rent for your new haircut shop is relatively cheap. So you might be able to charge $20 for a haircut. So know those different things. And who are you competing with? Who else is cutting hair in your area? Who else is selling books or selling, whatever it is you have on the market, the rugs in your area? What is it they do well? Find out. Buy one of their rugs. When I was writing these books, the first thing I did? I went and I researched the top books on college planning and funding. And I did some research and I asked, what is it I like about their book? They did this really well. What's missing? They're not even talking about this, and this. Well, guess what? That's the very thing I'm going to include in mine. And then what did they not do so well? Oh my gosh, this was hideous when I read it in their books. I'm going to fix that in my version of the book. So have that competitive nature and looking up your competitors and finding out what they're doing good. How much do they charge for their books, haircuts, whatever it is you're selling? You don't want to be the most expensive, but you might not want to be the cheapest either. So it gives you a range in which to think about how you're going to fit into that market and figure out how to price what you're doing. And then make sure you find out, okay, I live in the state of Virginia. Virginia says if I'm going to open up a business, I have to be able to do this, this, and this. I got to file an annual report for my S Corp. And I also have to file my annual registration with the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Whatever it is, the minimum the state says you have to do to comply with your business, make sure you understand what that is, get your parents' help, do some research, but it's highly possible. Both my sons have their businesses registered with the Virginia State Corporation Commission. I gifted them the fee. I think it was like $100 to get it started and $50 every year to renew for their LLC. That's chump change for them. But I gift them with that as an investment into them. But they understand how the process works, and you should know how it works in your state and your cities too, and counties. But the key thing is position your business to provide unique value. That's how you understand what your competition isn't doing well. And that's what you use as your selling point. Well, I know, Billy Bob's haircut shop up the street, all his customers come out with razor burns and ringworms. Guess what? We don't have that problem in my shop. So you want to talk about the products you use that helps protect your, the wellness and the care of your clients' hair and head and all that stuff. But have some unique value that you bring to the table. Number 3, choose a name for your business. This is important because as you go to look up the company's, your state's requirements, one of the first things the state's going to ask you to do is pick a name. Put your name in and you do a search. And when you do a search, it says this name is already taken in Virginia, Christie. You got to pick something else. So you'll come up with something else and then you'll say, let me put that in and check. Oh, guess what? That name is available. So now you have a name that you can start to build and shape your brand around. And then you want to make sure that you pay attention to type of structure, like someone mentioned in the comment, a limited liability corporation. There are different type of structures. Different structures have different purposes. Some of them have to do with how you operate every day. Some of them have to do with how you pay taxes. So depending on what you want to do with your business will dictate the kind of structure that you select. Most young people, I recommend starting out with a limited liability corporation. Do research on it, find out what it takes in your state. And I don't really have time to go into the structures, but you could probably do a whole course just on business structures in the future, or just do some research. Here are some of them here. The 2 that I have 2 businesses. I have a LLC, it's called Invest in Others LLC. and my S Corp, which is the one that's hosting this summit, Educational Excellence Inc. It's an S Corp. And this, it kind of gives you, I like this chart, and I got this from the SBA.gov website, Small Business Administration website, but it gives you an easy breakdown of what goes, how each one of these structures work in terms of ownership, liability, and taxes. Now, the fourth thing, Miss Christie, there she goes with this plan. Have a plan. I'm not going to get into the specifics of it. If I was doing this for adults, I would get into a lot more detail on having an executive summary and a company description, but you should have a company description. You should be able to tell people, my business, we cut hair. Or if you have a mobile hair cuttery business and you have a mobile truck and you go around cutting hair, you'll say that. I have a mobile hair cutting business and I come to you, you don't come to me. But have those basic things, what products or services, put that in your plan. How do you want to market? I'm going to market it on social media. I'm going to market around campus with flyers. I'm going to go and market it with people who have jacked up haircuts now. And I'm going to personally give them a flyer, whatever you feel like you want to do to get yourself out in front of people. And then every time you make changes to your business, update your simple plan. And you know me, I always advocate for you guys to have a plan, but don't overcomplicate it. Keep your plan simple and straightforward. And then we talked about registering your business. You have to choose your name, then choose what kind of structure, like the LLC. And then you have to go to your state. For Virginia, and I'll just put this up here as an example, we call it the Virginia State Corporation Commission. Every state may call it something different. Go to their website, they'll ask you for things like what type of business, what's your business name, who's going to be your registered agent. That would be you, who's like going to manage registration for your business. So you want to be able to highlight all of those things in what you are doing. And also you have to go to the IRS and secure, it's free. But just like we have a personal social security number, your business has what they call a tax identification number or an employer identification number. It's free. All you have to do is go and sign your business up, and it will give you a letter and specify what your EIN number is. And you'll use that for almost everything you do with your business moving forward. And then lastly, focus on your infrastructure. There's nothing worse than my girlfriend who started making shea butter. And I said, well, hey, how can I pay you? She only wanted cash. And I said, well, no, I don't have cash. I very seldomly carry cash. Or can I order it from your website and have it shipped to my cousin for a Christmas gift? I don't have a website. I don't have a credit card. There's no way. I don't have a bank account. There's no way for me to pay you. And so what I mean by focus on your infrastructure is you need a business account. You need to have a way for people to pay you electronically. And if at all possible, have a landing page, a website or something where people can go and they can buy your products or, pay for your services without physically having to drive to your house and write a check or give you cash. It's a little outdated in my mind, but as you're getting started, do what you need to do to get started. Some money is better than no money. But as you mature with your business, start thinking about your infrastructure. What kind of technology do you need? Do you want to create a logo? Do you want to have certain colors in your branding, in your scheme? Maybe you like all my products are black, pink, green, and white, both of my books. So this is part of my branding. You see the same colors. I played off the same colors. So you have to think about those things strategically up front in what you're doing. So as I wrap up, because it is getting close to the top of the hour, I want to remind you that focus on what you do well and where there is a demand as you think about a multiple stream of income or becoming an entrepreneur. And decide if you want a business or if you just want to, do nails for a hobby, because they're two different things. A business, you have to take it serious and put in that time that he talked about in the video and make it a life habit. But a hobby, you just do it when you really feel like it. You're not interested in making a lot of money, but I'm refining my skill and I enjoy doing it when I can. That's perfectly okay too. But prepare to put in some effort and determine what success looks like to you. Your success in your business is not other people's business, and don't care about other people's opinion. You get to decide what success is for you. And seek assistance and leverage your networks we talked about. And I'm going to end with this statement, which I've been saying since yesterday. Closed mouths don't get fed. Ask for help. So while you're matriculating in college, whether you're trying to get help with a business, a job, an internship, a class, whatever it is, ask those people who can help you. And don't be afraid to open your mouth and ask for help, because people aren't going to help you if they don't know you need help. So that is where I'm going to end. Are there any questions before we transition? Can you please show slide 3 again? Yes, I sure can. So while I see if there are any questions, I'm going to go back to slide 3 briefly. And if I'm not on the right one, is it the one? Wait a minute, I'm going the wrong way here. Is it the number 3 step? Let me know if that's what you're looking for. This one? Mom of the Benjamins? Let me know if this is the slide. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. Well, if I don't get to the slide, if I'm not on the right slide you're looking for.
Yes, it's the right slide. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So please note too that these slides, I'm going to try to send them out today, but no later than tomorrow. The recordings from both days of the summit and the slides, I will email that out to all of you. If you register for this event, you will get an email from me thanking you for attending this event, and it will have all these slides in it. So just know you'll have it as a reference moving forward. Now, with that being said, I am excited to, hold on, I'm on something I don't need to be. I want to advance these, and I'm going to introduce you to our first guest. Remember what I told you about your, don't embarrass me in front of company. Actually, let me go back. I think that is in the wrong place, yes. So I want to introduce you to Mr. Douglas Witherspoon, who will be joining us to talk about real estate and young adults and careers in home ownership. So, Mr. Witherspoon, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Welcome.
Great.
Thank you for taking the time out. I'm going to pin you as you are here so that we can feature you and not my slide. So thank you for joining us. And I want to start out, we're going to do a little Q&A with Mr. Witherspoon. So feel free to use the chat if you have questions for him. But Mr. Witherspoon, can you introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. Yes. So I'm an IT professional. I've been doing IT for over 15 years. I love IT. I love everything about it. I have recently gotten into real estate and love it. It's the way that a lot of folks have built generational wealth. It seems that just statistically speaking, that 8% of Black people in America own. That's a very low number, and it's for a reason. It was strategically done that way. It's been kept in generations for them to prosper, and it's time for us to wake up and say, hey, why are we paying somebody else's mortgage? Why are we renting? Why are we not owning? Why? That's my whole goal, is to get your mindset off of of that type of mindset. Let's own. Why can't we? You can do the same thing. It doesn't take a lot to do it. It just takes some time and concentrate on what is important to you, especially as youth coming up. I'll get into that a little bit later, but for years and years and years, I was not qualified to own because I had 2 children that I paid child support for. And my argument was, well, if I can afford to pay rent, which was probably twice as much, why can't I afford a home? It was a way of leveraging, and basically you are profiled. So that's one of the passions that I have, just to let you know what your options are, to let you know that yes, you can do it. You have to plan, just like everything else. Great point that Christie said. And I've been drilled in this in my head the last 10 years. A man without a plan plans to fail. If you don't plan, life is not going to just magically happen for you. If you've got to plan on everything that you do, everything that you said about planning is very important. It's just paramount. If you don't have a plan, guess what? Plan to fail. So I think that's a very valid point. So back to where I am now. So I have several properties that I'm doing multiple things with, renting and doing Airbnb, but it's leveraging me to be able to acquire more properties. And I want you guys to have a head start up front and use all of the knowledge that we're giving to you to don't become a renter. Say, hey, you know what? Even if you looking for the first time, hey, this apartment with 3 bedrooms is $1,500. Well, guess what? You can buy a condo with the same credentials, same 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and pay $500 something, stay in there for 2 years or a year. Rent that, let that pay for your next venture in your real, just your future. So don't get caught up in, oh, well, I got to rent because I don't know if I'll be here for that long. It doesn't matter. Even if you, like I said, if you get a place, you're going to go somewhere in another year or so, let that money make money for you and move on. I'll talk more about that later. I just want to do a brief introduction and let you know where I'm at. Like I said, IT, I thrive on IT. I love it. I love the technology. I love the way it changes. I've been there where we started off with dial up. Now we're getting gigs down. So that's pretty much where I'm at. This is a brief introduction of what I do and what I'm looking forward to doing.
So, Mr. Douglas, so let me just kind of break this apart in the time we have with you. So you have a professional job in IT, and even you have another stream of income with getting involved in real estate investment. So, and then I heard you share with our young adults that they should be focusing or considering buying instead of renting. You mean to tell me they don't have to wait until they're 30 years old and 40 years old to buy their first property? What would you
Mm,
share with young people about buying in their 20s?
Okay, so here's my experience. Uh, in my 20s, I had children that I was not expecting. That happens a lot. Uh, so one thing, kind of aside from everything we're talking about, don't be so casual with just laying up with someone and having a child. Plan it. Make sure you're financially responsible and ready for it because it will hold you back. It took me up until 8 years ago where I even was able to get a loan because I said, Mr. Witherspoon, you pay too much in child support. So uh, plan, plan. If that means you have to get fixed at 18 and say, hey, when I'm ready, I'll get unfixed. I've offered that to my son where, okay, things happen. You might have a wild night that can cause you problems. Secondly, yes, it was a bit of a venture for me because of my situation. But guess what? My first home, guess how much I had to pay to get into that home? I want to just take a poll and say, if you think that I paid more than 10 grand to get into it, if you can just put yes in the chat. If you think I paid less than 10 grand, put no in the chat. Okay. All right. So my first home, guess what? I didn't pay a dime. I had 100% financing from my credit union. I didn't have to put a dime down. They damn near paid me to get into the place, which was surprising. Some credit unions offer 100% financing. So that's a myth that I want you to get out of your head. Oh, I got to have 20%. People just say, oh, Lord, I got to have 20, 40, 50, 60 grand to get into a home. That's not the case. In lots of cases, they have first time buyer programs where they actually pay for your closing costs. They pay for everything. They practically pay you to get into a home because they're tired of these investors grabbing up all these properties and no one's owning. You don't want to get into that rat race, just like she spoke of renting and renting and renting. You're paying other people's mortgages. I'll give you a prime example. I have a condo in not far from here right now that my mortgage is $534. That thing rents for $1,600. So I leverage it for Airbnb because it will bring me even more income. But and also there's another great program, FHA. FHA loans require 3.5% down versus 20% of a traditional loan. That's a great point that I can't pronounce the name. Great point. You have to pay insurance on it, which is a little bit more, but guess what? That first getting your foot in the door of the $100,000 home paying $3,500 down, great avenue. Get your foot in there, get you in there, make a decision in 2 years, you can probably move out, rent that place out, and that'll pay for your next mortgage and also pay for that mortgage. So it's very attainable. It's just having the knowledge. These are things that they don't teach you in school. So I'm gonna just kind of leave it off with that, and I'll give you more information. I am available. I will leave my contact information if you have more questions, but I think this is a real big disconnect on how we are moving forward with housing.
So you just helped to dispel the myth that you don't have to wait until you're in your 30s and 40s to be a homeowner. There's first-time home buyer programs. They're looking for young adults to prepare themselves and to be able to enter the workforce, graduate from college. And you can really, even while you're in college, I just saw, I think you sent me something earlier this week about a mother and son who was buying a property and he was renting out rooms up to college students and he was 22 years old.
Exactly. So here's another great advantage that you can do is called house hacking, where you would purchase a multi-family home, which basically is a duplex. You've got one house on one side, one on the other. You could obtain that for practically the same price as you would buy a regular home. Here's the thing. You got somebody on the other side that's paying your mortgage. They're not only paying your mortgage or the promissory note, which is really called, they're actually putting money in your pocket. So if you structure yourself while you're looking and saying, hey, you know what, this two duplex thing sounds really attractive. Well, it's super attractive. It's almost like, I can't say the word, but it's very sexy. So what you can do is purchase that home that you have 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on one side, the same thing on the other. You can stay there for a year or so. Then guess what? You can bounce out. You can rent both of those out, and that'll pay for your mortgage, your promissory note for that home, and also will also cover your mortgage for your new home. So that's a very valuable piece of information as far as how it's called house hacking. And it's a very easy way to get into it. It leverages, it gives you a place to stay while you get yourself together. You stay there for a year, you save up 20% or 3.5 based on whatever you want to look for. And then that will pay for that. And then you're on to your next one. And you could just build from that on. Like that is a very solid way. And I wish I'd have known that, just like I need to write a book like Christie did. I wish I'd have known that 20 years ago. But hey, here I am. I'm just, you know what? It's never too late. If you're still alive, you can still do it.
You're right. So what would you tell anyone who's thinking about home ownership? Because, you know, I've had a number of properties, and when I think about renting, I cringe because you always worry about maintenance issues or people destroying your property. What would you tell young people about handling maintenance associated with home ownership?
So that's another myth. I have a coworker that I've been working with for 5 years, and she's, oh, I just don't, if something goes wrong, what I'm going to do. Here's a story with this lady, who I'm just very discreet, but she's mindset, she makes payments on shoes, on Jordans. Like, I'm like, why are you paying for Jordans and you don't have a house? So long story short. So her landlord, she had a problem with her toilet. So the landlord was so, I don't know what you want to call it. He basically went to their house and took the toilet out from the bathroom for 2 days and just took it and repaired it at home versus just giving them a new one. And I'm like, if that's not a sign of you need to get the hell out and get your own place, then what is? She's painting, she's painted the place, she's added value to the home. All she's doing is paying for that guy's mortgage and probably for whatever lifestyle he's living right now. So long story short, own. Get what you do is if you're scared about that, if you're feeling like, oh, what I'm gonna do if something goes wrong, get you a home warranty. A home warranty costs just like a premium, like insurance. If something goes wrong, you do pay a deductible, probably 500 or 1500, depending on how, you know, if you choose the lower deductible, of course, it's going to be a higher premium. But what that guarantees is that if your AC unit goes out, guess what? You pay that $500 deductible, you keep it moving. They replace it. That's probably about the highest cost item in a household. Can go from anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on what it is. But guess what? It's just like anything else. You find a way to remedy that. Don't let that scare you away. The myth of, oh, well, if something goes wrong, what am I going to do? Well, that's insurance for that. Mm-hmm. Don't let that be deterrent. Do not let that be deterrent. Because guess what? That landlord's going to pay for it, and you're already paying for it because you're overpaying in the rent anyway.
Good point. And I'm going to crack a joke here and say, in that example with the landlord taking the toilet out, I hope they had more than one bathroom in the house, because that would be a tough situation.
That's the thing. No. And her mother's elderly. So that's the sad part. Yeah.
Okay, well, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So I will echo the having a home warranty. I never have a property without it. I think I might pay $100 bucks a month or whatever, a little bit more, a little bit less. But I would never own another property without having it because if the hot water heater, the HVAC system, one of your big systems go out, I pay 75 bucks. They come out and if they can't fix it, they replace it within the contractual agreement and arrangement we have. But it's a great way to give you a lot more sense of ease when you don't feel like you have to come out of pocket extensively every time you have a home maintenance type of issue. So now I want to pivot, Mr. Witherspoon, and ask you about careers. You talked about real estate being a lucrative career. And what would you share with young adults? Is it too early for young adults to start thinking about, getting a real estate license and actually selling real estate?
Yes. So surprisingly, the requirement to gain a real estate broker's license in every state in the United States is 18 years of age. Another thing is, if you're talking about, I've talked to countless amounts of folks that have degrees but do nothing related to their degrees. They've got student loan debt out to tell, but they're not even doing what they went to school for. This, which I'm embarking on and embracing, costs me about $700 to take the class. The test is about $150 in the state of North Carolina. To maintain your license, there's 8 hours of continuing education that costs about $200 a year and about $50 to renew. So talking about something that here's a product, here's a vital part of the U.S. economy that basically sells itself. Everybody has to have a home. The average person in North Carolina starting off makes about 60 grand a year. Now that's if you're just cruising, you're not really killing it. On the top end, you can make 6 figures your first year if you are diligent and you are passionate about what you're doing. I'm pretty sure it's not far off in other states. Have not tested Virginia or other states, but starting off, that's a pretty nice little something to look forward to. Whereas you can pretty much, you don't have to punch a clock. You're working on your own schedule. You don't have to ask your boss, hey, can I take off for 2 weeks? You can schedule that. You can plan it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's hard work. Nothing's easy. But as far as an investment and getting started in a career where, you can learn a lot from real estate. Real estate is one of those things that's basically generational wealth. If you look at the people that are most of the people that are in the top 5 or top 10 on net worth definitely have a huge portion of their portfolio on real estate, because guess what? Real estate doesn't go down, it only goes up. Of course, you've got crashes and things of that nature, but at the end of the day, everyone needs somewhere to live. There's someone in my neighborhood where I was having a conversation with one of his professionals, and I asked, hey, you provide plumbing service, and he said yes. And I worked for this guy. He said he's got 250 rental houses in this county alone. So he's an older guy. He's about 90. He's passing it on to his children, which his dad passed on to his children. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't fail. It's going to be there. You got to have somewhere to live. They buy them for cheap. They fix them up. They keep people in there. They even have people at Section 8. They don't really care. They just want that check coming in every month that covers everything. So just to say, it's a very lucrative business. It doesn't take rocket science to, you have to study, you have to do what you need to do, but you have to be diligent. Nothing's easy. You're gonna have to spend the time, you're gonna have to work hard if you want to be in that top percentile. But definitely, if you look at some people that spend, I don't even know what the cost of college is these days. They spend 4 years in college. They don't know what they want to do. They get out and they're not even doing what they went to school for. And then Uncle Sam or whoever you get your money from wants their money. And it's a sad cycle. So this is a way to break that cycle. If something you're looking forward to. If you're interested in, I'll give you more information. But I tell you, there's a lot worse things you could be doing than real estate.
Right, because when I do the math, it sounded like I heard you say in the state of North Carolina, you paid $700 for a class. I mean, for the class, and then another 150 for the test. That's still under $1,000 versus the cost of a 4 year college for a year. Let's just say at an average of 30K per year times 4 years, it's $120,000. So for 1,000 versus 120,000, you could have a great career in real estate with no student loan debt and a
Exactly.
low cost initial investment into that career.
And you know what? It doesn't take a lot of time to do. If you choose that that's not your route and you give it a try, guess what? Your your investment is not that involved. And you know what? I can tell you this, that there's I'm tired. I've been working in IT for over 15 years and I'm physically just tired of punching the clock. I want to be able to say, okay, I'm working on this client. I will, I want to do this. I want to go on a trip. I want to do this. And it seems like I almost have to beg to get time off and it's never enough. And just that peace of mind to say, hey, you know what? This whole month I'm just taking off. You know what? You're smart about what you're, and also in this industry is very different from any other industry because most of the time when you go to apply for a job, you're interviewing, you're trying to impress them. This is the total opposite. You interview them. You say, hey, what do you have? What's different about your firm that would make me attractive to you? What is your split on commissions? Like what kind of, so it's you pretty much write your own ticket. And unlike some fields, like in IT and medical, I can go pretty much anywhere in the US and work because IT's you got to have it. Medical, you have to have it. Guess what? Real estate, I can go to Hawaii. There's real estate there. People are going to buy, they're going to sell. You can pretty much go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the United States, I would say.
Good point. So, what would you say to young adults who might be interested in real estate and getting licensed, and they have to take it would be advantageous for them to take a training course? Are there different type of courses based on your learning style, like virtual or
Yes. So so
based? Or
gone, so gone as the day of being brick and mortar in a building. That pretty much now since COVID, it's non-existent. You don't have to be in a building. You can sign up for a course. What I would suggest, what worked for me is to have a course where you do have to live class where you're accountable. You have to be there. You can't miss more than 3 hours through the whole course. Uh, in the state of North Carolina, it was 75 hours of classes that you had to take. And so you had to be there. You couldn't just log in and click your picture video and be gone. You had to be there because guess what? This is valuable information. When you're talking about real estate, you're handling, and it's very stringent. You're handling life decisions here where people are making the most. Uh, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, so they don't want somebody that's a flunky that's barely able to do it. The test is stringent. It's stringent for a reason because you're handling literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of revenue. So you got to be on point. It's definitely a challenge. I'm more so on, I like to be there. I want to see what's going on. If I got questions I want to ask right there on the spot versus you have self-paced classes that you can take that are probably less, of course, because there's nobody live there. I would highly suggest if you are looking into it to enroll in a class that is accountable, that you have to be there. In the state of Virginia, it's actually only 30 hours that you need to qualify for becoming a broker or before you are able to actually take the test. So don't fool yourself and say, oh, well, I got to this class, I barely paid attention. But when you go to the test and you fail, then it's all for nothing. So, look at it, Google it and say, hey, what I look for is the highest percentage of first time success with passing the state exam forever, whatever state you're in.
Mhm. Okay. And what about earning potential? Like, what would someone who's interested in the state kind of a range? I know it's not exact. It depends on how committed you are, how much you're selling, and that sort of thing. But what's that earning potential? A glance at it. What could it look?
So, so in the state of North Carolina, the average real estate consultant that's licensed and you're working as a provisional broker, which means you don't have an experience, You have to work in a firm with what's called a broker in charge, which basically makes sure that you pretty much holds your hand. You make sure you're not doing anything illegal. We make sure all the documents are signed. You can obtain about 60 grand as a rookie and build from there. Now that's someone that's just doing the basics. Now, if you know people, if you're on social media, if you're, you have to be selling. Like you can't just sit back and wait. Nobody's going to come and, like I tell Christie sometimes, the yard's not going to cut itself. Like you got to make initiative to get out there and make yourself available. And it's not hard because people are buying and selling all the time. You just have to let them know, hey, I don't know if you know, here's my card. I represent this brokerage. If you're looking to buy or sell or know anybody, let me know. So guess what? It's not super easy. I'm not trying to say this is an easy profession, but it's easy to get into and it's not hard work.
So someone just asked, can you address the I can't pronounce the word. I'm for some reason cyclical nature of the business and the impact of rates on your business.
I'm not understanding what you're asking. Can you be more direct?
Yeah, so asking about the cyclical nature. So you know how the real estate market has peaks and valleys, right? Because of the economy. And so then you also have impacts to rates. And when rates are higher, people are more hesitant to buy versus when rates are lower. How does that impact your business?
Gotcha. Well, here's the thing. We all have to have somewhere to live, no matter what the rate is. In fact, people are buying more now because they know they're on a cusp. So what I've got from a couple of pages that I'm on Facebook is there's no perfect time, but if you don't take advantage of the time you have. So here's the thing about that. So yeah, the rates are a little high right now. As an investor, this is a great time because it gives you time to do due diligence. You can go and sign a contract and get 20 days to inspect this property, see where it is, where back in COVID, where it was a high market where people were just buying unseen, not even doing inspections. There was a lot of people that got burned because they got these places that the HVAC system didn't even work, but they put all this money into it because what they were doing, they were greedy. They were buying without looking at it. So yes, of course, there's times, but there's not a time when nobody's going to buy and sell real estate. That just does not exist. So I would shy away from, oh, well, I'm not going to buy now because, well, guess what? The rates will go down in another year or so and refinance at that point. But don't let that be a deterrent. And I get what you're saying. Yeah, as a real estate agent, people were hesitant for a while, but guess what? Life goes on. People are coming in out of town all the time. They're going to buy no matter what. So I don't want you to look at that as a negative thing. Of course, there's going to be cycles where the interest rates are high. There's going to be times where it's a buyer's market versus a seller's market. But guess what? People are still buying and selling. So every real estate agent I know are doing just fine. There's no discrepancy in their pay. They're getting paid. The commissions are even higher right now.
Okay. So it sounds like regardless of what season we're in with interest rates, you got to find a way to look for the opportunities and leverage the opportunities with whatever cycle we're on with the interest rates.
Exactly. So look, let me give an example of that. So, someone first-time home buyer back when COVID was going on, and even when I was purchasing a condo not far away from here, I was bidding on homes and I was just getting outbid. These investors had 10 to 15 to 20 grand that they would just throw on top. I didn't have the extra money to do. I lost out on deals because people just had more capital. But guess what? I was lucky enough to have a realtor that said, hey, I got this one deal, it's off the table. If you make an offer for what they're asking, it's yours. I jumped on that like it was no tomorrow, because if an investor would have had that, they would have put, oh, I'm putting $15,000 more, pushes you out the day. So here's another thing to realize about the industry. It's very biased. It's people with money will always trump you. And that's the thing about it, what makes it sick. Whereas you're a first-time home buyer, you're looking, you finally find something. And then some guy that has 20,000 properties, puts 10 grand on top of you, and your bank only is going to allow the amount that it's worth, then you're stuck. So now really is the opportune time where it's not that competitive right now. If you find it, I know the rate's a little high, but guess what? Down the road, you can refi and you have cut the middleman out immensely. Like you don't even have competition right now.
And tell them what refinance is. It's when you can.
So here's the thing. It's the refinancing. So initially when I bought my first home, when I purchased my first home, I had a 4.75% interest rate, which I thought was great at the time, and it was, right? So when all this COVID and things happened and the interest rates dropped, I refinanced my home. I got the cash out. I got out 16 grand out of my home that I've lived in for a few years. And guess what? I used that to buy a condo with a 2.9% interest rate. The 16 grand I had to pay because it was my second mortgage. So I couldn't do no money down. But guess what? I got that money just sitting here. Let's use it. So now I got a 2.95% on my condo, 3.25 on my home. I'm leveraging that. I'm making money, but I'm not going to refi right now because look at the interest rates. Why am I going to? Here's what those people even actually doing now. They're actually selling. They're telling people, you give me 50 grand, I'll let you take my interest rate, which right now you said it's about 7.6.8 point, and you're going to offer them a 2.95% rate. They're willing to pay that 50 grand up top to save on that interest, which is going to drop in a couple of years anyway. It's just leveraging what you have and taking advantage of what's out there.
Good points. So as we wrap up with Mr. Douglas, because we're at the end of our segment with him, I want to end with a question or point I've been reiterating with the young adults over the last day or so, and that is following instructions and paying attention to details. How important is that in real estate? When I heard you talk about you're handling thousands, if not millions of dollars of people's hard-earned money, how important is paying attention to what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm going to throw a couple links in the chat here. Know what your credit score is. Don't walk into a situation where, even if you're initially going to rent and you go there, it's the perfect place you want, and then they pull up your credit score and they're like, dude, yeah, you're wasting our time and you just paid $50 for a application fee for nothing. Know what your credit score is. Even though you're young, you probably don't know what it is. Get to know your credit score. There's things that I can send you. I'm going to put a couple of more links in the chat here for you just to kind of get your mindset on, okay, people are looking at what you're doing. You can't just go and say, hey, I want to get a loan for 85 grand and your credit's garbage. I use what's called Mint. Mint will keep track of all of your financial transactions. It tells you when your bills are due. It tells you if you're late. It warns you on, hey, if you don't do this, your credit score is going to suffer. It's never too early to look at your credit because that's initially what's going to get you in or out the door. It's going to determine whether you qualify or you don't. Being late, that matters. Be on time. If you have a problem, you're going to be late with a creditor or a bill, call them and say, hey, man, I'm going to be a little bit late, and they'll work with you. But don't show up trying to get something and you're like, man, I wish I'd have known this before. Get familiar with your credit. I'm throwing a couple of more links out there. There's a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I encourage you all, and I'll tell you what I'll do even one better. For everyone that puts let's see, Christy, I'll have to get with you this, but I will buy 10 copies of Rich Dad Poor Dad for people that send you an email the fastest. It's just a great book that lets you know. Some people are very passive. This book will let you know that, hey, life is going to push you around. Either you can just sit there and take it, or you can do something about it. You can put yourself in a bracket where you can get an attorney. You can get you a tax professional that will help you with not paying as much taxes. That's what the rich do. It's a great book to have. And if you want it bad enough, send Christy an email. The first 10 people to do that, I will buy that book for you. I just want to give you as much as a head start of things that they don't teach you in school, the things you learn, things that I learned the hard way through just life, hard knocks. I thought I was very naive. Hey, I'm going to go into the Navy. I'm going to have a nice life, plush and 2.5 fence and kids. And no, that's not life. Life is hard. You have to work through it. You're going to be pushed around. You got to be ready to, you have to be proactive. You have to seriously be ready, because life is not going to be bells and, everything's not roses. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to be diligent. You're going to have to look forward to things pushing back. You have to fight it. And that's pretty much all. I've took a lot of you guys' time. I appreciate it, but feel free, Christie, leave my email address. So if anyone has any personal questions or anything to follow up, I'll be more than happy to help you with that.
Excellent job. Thank you so much. Hopefully I'll get some emails coming in for Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 10 copies. And again, your full address. I'm not even gonna ask you for your address. If you only send me 113 Elm Street, I'm not gonna get the rest of it. So city, state, zip code included. And Mr. Douglas, thank you so much. Are there any other questions for Mr. Douglas before we take a 10-minute break? And then Mr. Wright is on. So after our 10-minute break, he is going to be up next. All right. So thank you very much, Mr. Witherspoon. We appreciate you coming to talk about real estate from a career and a home ownership perspective. Let us all take a 10-minute break and come back at 4:47-ish. Thank you very much.
It's the Legion, baby.
You know the world wanna watch us after 4. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own, so it's only right we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. I was raised in the valley, but educated up on the hill. Learn to higher my thoughts, now my thoughts lower all my bills. My mind is working, black degree, yeah, it's working. Came a long way from the uncertain, now I'm sure to thank God for the excursion. Now I got the ability to increase my earnings, and I don't have to do what I used to. Used to be one to take L's, now due to the tax bracket, it's a fact that we see W-2s. Imagine that, we see W-2s, imagine that. Now let me get back to the fact that we didn't have access from no schools, now we're on an atlas. Black grads, we have class, we can discuss it, just don't try to change the subject. Like a cold drink without Q, no we're not done yet. This is black success, and guess what, we're up now and we're up next. Hey, you know the world wanna watch us after 4. Like good news, so the world so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own, so it's only right we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. From the dorm rooms to the boardrooms, we even have people working all in those courtrooms, trying to make a change that makes a change. So watch out for all reforms soon. Speaking of reform, take away funding, watch us reform. We're more than homecoming and step shows, so when we step, be warm. We're at them tables, and guess what? Yes, we keep those seats warm. We're trying to keep the peace on. Think we'll stop, then dream on. Now let's talk about these memories. Our names say we made history. Lift every voice after every victory. You can be black, black at At your liberty, stand tall like a hickory tree. What you know about going from the class to the cap? Graduation always come fast, but guess what? Our bonds will always last. You know the world wanna watch us after foe. Like good news, so the world's so good they want some more. Like good food, look at where we are and where we came. Now we all prove that we own what's only right. We love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. Alabama A&M University, Alabama State University, Jackson State University, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Morehouse, Tennessee State, Fisk University, Howard, North Carolina A&T, all the HBCUs, from the SWAC to the MEAC to the SIAC, Miles College, you know what's going down, Grambling, Southern, all the HBCUs all around the world. You know the world wanna watch us after foe, like good news, so the world's so good they want some more, like good food, look at where we are and where we came, now we all prove that we own what's only right, we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs.
It's the Legion, baby.
You know the world wanna watch us after foe, like good news, so the world's so good they want some more, like good food, look at where we are and where we came, now we all prove that we own what's only right, we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. I was raised in the valley, but educated up on the hill. Learn to higher my thoughts, now my thoughts lower all my bills. My mind is working, black degree, yeah, it's working. Came a long way from the uncertain, now I'm sure to thank God for the excursion. Now I got the ability to increase my earnings, and I don't have to do what I used to. Used to be one to take L's, now due to the tax bracket, it's a fact that we see W-2s, imagine that. We see W-2s, imagine that. Now let me get back to the fact that we didn't have access from no schools, now we're on an atlas. Black grads, we have class, we can discuss it, just don't try to change the subject. Like a cold drink without cube, no we're not done yet. This is black success, and guess what? We're up now, and we're up next. Hey, you know the world wanna watch us after foe, like good news, so the world's so good they want some more, like good food, look at where we are and where we came, now we all prove that we own what's only right, we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. From the dorm rooms to the boardrooms, we even have people working all in those courtrooms, trying to make a change that makes a change. So watch out for all reforms soon. Speaking of reform, take away funding, watch us reform. We're more than homecoming and step show, so when we step, be warm. We're at them tables, and guess what? Yes, we keep those seats warm. We're trying to keep the peace on. Think we'll stop, then dream on. Now let's talk about these memories. Our names say we made history. Lift every voice after every victory. You can be black, black at your liberty. Stand tall like a hickory tree. What you know about going from the class to the cap? Graduation always come fast, but guess what? Our bonds will always last. You know the world wanna watch us after foe, like good news, so the world so good they want some more, like good food, look at where we are and where we came, now we all prove that we own what's only right, we love our all black schools. HBCUs, 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 HBCUs. Alabama A&M University. University, Alabama State University, Jackson State University, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Morehouse, Tennessee State, Fisk University, Howard, North Carolina A&T, all the HBCUs from the SWAC to the MEAC to the SIAC, Miles College, you know what's going down, Grambling, Southern, all the HBCUs all around the world. You know the world wanna watch us after 4, like good news, so the world's so good they want some more, like good food, look at where we are and where we came, now we all prove that we own what's only right, we love our all black schools, HBCUs, 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 HBCUs.
All right, all right.
It's the Legion, baby.
Okay. We are back in just about 30 seconds while I set up for Mr. Jonathan Wright. I'm going to get him set up now. Mr. Wright. Okay, you should have co-host sharing rights.
All right, fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm gonna do a quick test here just to make sure.
Okay, take your time.
Good. Okay, excellent.
Okay. So we are back, everyone. I hope I'm not still pinned up here. I don't see my face up here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. I want to introduce, oh, I'm not on video. Hold on. I'm like, why am I looking at my face? Okay. I want to introduce a fellow colleague of mine from the Northern Virginia area, and a more important affiliation, a fellow Hamptonian from the Hampton University. He is joining us. Mr. Jonathan Wright will be joining us to talk about financial planning for young adults, how to get off to the right start. So I'm going to just turn it over to him. Jonathan, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself and share over the next hour or so with our youth and our parents. And you have sharing capabilities, and I'll let you take it from here. And welcome.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. I see Tara Punches in the chat. Another Hamptonian. Do we have any other Hamptonians in the building?
I think I saw.
Okay, here we go. We got another one, Kenya.
Oh, Kenya Underwood. All right, come on with it. I know there's got to be one more. Yes, yep. She's going to Hampton in the fall. Incoming freshman, next gen.
There we go. I love it. I love it.
Real HU. Say it.
I'm actually coming up on my 20th year, believe it or not. So this homecoming, we're about to turn up. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. Bringing the whole family with me. So my daughter, who's 10, she'll be coming. Elijah, who's on the call right now. Had to get him off the video game, but he's on this call, which is fantastic. Welcome. And my family's coming. They're playing A&T. So that's going to be good at homecoming. My dad went to A&T. My mom went to Bennett. So HBC, and my brother went to Coppin State. So all of us went to HBCU. So really excited to be here. I see some Aggie Prize in here. All right, I hear that. And so I'll go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Jonathan Wright. I'm actually located here in Northern Virginia. And I am a financial advisor. And I'm also a managing partner. I created my own practice, started it literally 3 months ago. But I've been in the business for 15 years and been in finance ever since Hampton. Had opportunity to work on Wall Street. I was an investment banker, hated it, spent the night in my suit multiple nights. And I was like, this is not for me. Went down the corporate route and worked for a company called Northrop Grumman. I worked for a builder, Ryan Homes, in Charlotte, North Carolina, right during the crash of 2008. So that's why I was like the last speaker. I understood. I know real estate. I was in North Carolina and I was working for the builder. And I was during that time I got laid off because the market crashed. So that was a big learning experience for me that, you know, you never know where life's going to take you, but use it as a learning experience. And so for me, getting laid off was a learning experience because in my previous job, I made a lot of good friends and I didn't burn bridges. I left on good terms. So when I left on good terms, I was able to make a lot of good relationships who became senior executives in the government. And so being a senior executive in the government, they asked me to come and work and take a government job here in the Navy Yard in DC. I took that job, got a GS-13, you know, came back, got my good government job, and got my executive MBA from Maryland College Park, Smith Business School. And during that time, I put together some platforms that allowed me to work for the Pentagon. So I worked for DOD. But when I returned back home, one of the things I did, rejoin my home church, First Mount Zion Baptist Church. And one of the first things that they asked me to do was to get involved and pay my tithes. So I paid my tithes and then I got involved, but there was no ministry. And one of the things I learned when I was in Charlotte was a ministry called the Money Smart Ministry. And so tying those biblical principles with the financial principles, I brought that to my home church. And I quickly learned that people were getting education, but they didn't know how to act on it. So education is fantastic. Being financially literate is fantastic. But if you don't put it in action, it really is not going to help you get to where you want to go. And I think the theme that we've heard in this call is about planning. And so what I'm here to talk about is the importance of financial planning and starting early. And there's no reason why you can't be financially successful if you plan and you start early. Most of my clients that are older, one of the main things that they talk about is, I wish I had known this when I was in my 20s and 30s. They all say the same exact thing. I wish I had known about this when I was 20 and 30. But then my question to them is, would you be receptive to hearing it when you were in your 20s and 30s, or would you be more concerned with playing video games and doing other things that are not really going to create value in your life? And so you are all on this call on a Sunday evening in the summer because you care about your future, or your parents care about your future enough to have you on this call. So we're going to bring down some, talk about some, people say, my mom, yes. So yeah, so your mom cares about you, your parents. So that's fantastic. So now we're going to jump into some nuggets. And Chrissy, feel free to ask questions. Any other people on the chat that want to ask questions, feel free to do so. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to dive in. Let's see, let's do this. And if you can give me the thumbs up, if you can actually see my screen. Let's see if I can see the people too. All right, Christy. Okay, I think I can see you now. You can see my screen?
Yes, I sure can.
All right, fantastic. All right, so why did I get into this space? One, because I started looking at the stats. And I don't want people to be a statistic. And so looking at these stats, 63% of Americans live check to check. No matter how much money they make, they're still living check to check. I know people making six figures.
Me.
85% of people hate their job. So that is another thing. So why are you going to college, spending all this money, getting student debt, and you don't even like what you're doing? Find your passion, because if you find your passion, you'll never work another day in your life. Debt, 54% of households in America have credit card debt, and we're going to touch on that quite a bit. Approaching $1 billion in debt. Debt has a significant impact on your health, your family, and your future. Savings, 44% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency. So if an emergency happens, they have to go borrow money. They can't even get the car fixed because they got to go into debt because they don't have any savings to pay for these emergencies that are going to pop up. Retirement. 51% of Americans don't have anything saved for retirement. Insurance, 4 out of 10 households are uninsured or don't have enough insurance. And that's how you're creating a legacy for your family. It's tax-free, a way to transfer money. And it's one ways did you hear about trust funds all the time, trust fund babies. Well, you see, minorities don't typically have life insurance or have the right life insurance. So what do? They have GoFundMes. Have you ever seen those GoFundMes out there to fund a burial or funeral? That should never happen. And a lot of it is a lack of literacy. Only 6 out of 50 states require a standalone course in personal finance to graduate high school. And so you gotta take these classes seriously if you had the opportunity to take them in your schools. Virginia is one of them that does have a financial literacy course. So you definitely want to take advantage of that because that's going to set you up nicely. So I want to talk a little bit real quickly about my firm. So who we are, we're empowering individuals, families, and business owners with the education and guidance to make sound financial decisions. Because ultimately, we want to help people make sound financial decisions for themselves because you're not going to have somebody there holding your hand for the rest of your life. And the other thing that we wanted to do is work as a gold standard. We call it a fiduciary. Fiduciary means that you're acting in the unbiased, in the best interest of your client, providing strategies to help them reach their goals. So integrity, competence, and excellence, the gold standard. Our vision, and I want to just point out one thing so you guys can get a perspective. This is our 10-year game plan. And so our 10-year game plan is we want to bridge the gap between ambitious professionals and their first million. We're graded on how many millionaires can we produce over the next 10 years. So that gets me excited because that means we're changing the landscape and closing the wealth gap. We want to help 2,500 families, business owners, and now we're getting into the athlete market space. So we're going to start working with athletes, especially for people, if you heard of the NIL deals in college. Athletes can start making money now on their likeness, their image and their likeness. And so now they need financial advisors and people to guide them, people that they trust to help them before they start making multi-millions. And so these athletes are making a ton of money, but not every athlete, as you can imagine, are going to make that kind of money and are able to make it to the pros. So we still want to be able to guide them as they enter the workforce. So we have a sports and entertainment division as well that we're developing and building. And we're looking for smart individuals to join our firm. So let's talk about a financial plan. What is a financial plan? A financial plan is think of it this way. When you jump in a car and you don't know where you're going, what is the first thing you're going to do? Anybody? You put it in the chat, and Chris, if you can read it off to me if anybody answers. But one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to put in the GPS. You're going to put an address to your location, and the GPS is going to tell you step by step how to get there. And also, if there's traffic, they're going to give you alternative routes to go. So one of the things a financial plan is going to do is also give you a game plan to help you get to your destination. So a lot of times people don't know what the destination looks like. So then financial advisor, our goal is to help them kind of imagine what is it that you're trying to accomplish. And we do that through vision boards. So if you have not done a vision board is very important because we want our clients to visualize where their destination is and what is their why. If you don't have a why, you don't visualize where you're going, then it's hard to create a roadmap to help you get there because you don't know where you're going. So we want to help you do that. So you need to really think about what is it that I want to accomplish from the standpoint of where do I want to live? What neighborhoods do I want to live? What kind of house do I want to live? What kind of car do I want to drive? What kind of travel or trips do I want to go on? What do I want to do on the trips? Do I want to ride coach or do I want to ride first class? Do I want to be in a suite or do I want to be sharing a room with somebody? Think about that into those details and put it on paper and then visualize it through a vision board. Then we can determine what the cost is that it's going to cost to actually achieve those goals. And we're going to look at it from the lens of these 6 areas when we're building a plan. One is your cash flow. Without cash flow, you can't fund anything. That's what goes back to looking at what type of career you're gonna look at, what kind of job, what kind of income you can make, so you can determine what kind of cash flow you can expect to have, and does that align with your destination and what you want your life to look like in the future. Debt management. Debt is going to erode your wealth. So the more debt that you have, the more of your cash flow has to go to the debt to pay it down, and therefore you're paying somebody else and not paying yourself, which is a huge impact. Proper protection, because we know things are going to happen in life. So you want to protect yourself from worst case scenarios that could potentially happen to you. So what happens if you lose your job because you get hurt or you get sick? Do you have disability insurance? What happens if, you pass away? Do you have life insurance? What happens if the market drops? Do you have protection on your retirement accounts? A lot of people don't realize that you can get protection on different accounts that you have. And then you can also look at it from the standpoint, what happens when an emergency happens? Do you have an emergency fund? So all these things that we have to protect our clients against that are going to impact your money and your future from a financial perspective, we want to put in place. So all the teens and kids that are on the call, college students, you want to ask your parents, do you have life insurance? Having that topic and having that discussion is critical, because that's going to impact you and your pockets down the road. So emergency funds critical. Building wealth, outpacing inflation. Inflation is ridiculous right now. If you go to the stores, the cost of goods and services are eating away at your money. So therefore, you have to make more money. And one of the ways you can outpace inflation is by investing in investments that outpace the inflation rate, which is right now stock market. Stock market, you can look at real estate. There's all different types of investments, but your goal is to outpace inflation so that you can continue to build wealth. And then preserving wealth. After you make all the money, you want to make sure you maintain it and keep it. And so there's strategies for that. And that's later in life, but you want to start thinking about your estate plan. And that's another question that you want to ask your parents. Do we have an estate plan in place? Do we have life insurance in place? And do we have an estate plan in place? Do we have trust? Do we have wills? Do we have power of health, power of attorney? Do we have those things in place? Because if not, again, that's going to impact our children. And so you got to have that discussion, because those are the things that we're not having those discussions in our families, and we're avoiding it, and it's impacting and widening the wealth gap. And that's a big issue for us. So any questions on anything I discussed on this topic before we kind of switch gears? And I want this to be an open dialogue. No questions? That was crystal clear. All right, that's good. I like it.
Wait, so quick question. So I'm finding out how important it is to do planning. I've got things that I've got life insurance and things like that. So my dad, old school, I was like, Pops, man, do you have a will? He's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, I've got this. I got it from Groupon. Just a quick will preparer. I think it's through one of those top 3 sites. But anyway, it's a start. And so, like I said, I've got life insurance, but I need to go over it and make sure everything is where it needs to be, because, it's kind of a rush type of deal. So I think that's very important. And I think a lot of people miss out on that. And I probably will get with you at some later point to kind of firm mine up and see exactly where I am. But that's a great point. And a lot of people don't even know if parents even have that. Great point.
Man, I appreciate that. And yeah, absolutely. I'm here as a resource. And one of the things that we do as a firm is we do quarterly reviews for our clients, and at a minimum, annual reviews. It's just like going to the doctor. When you go get your annual physical, you go to find out and get a checkup, even if you're healthy, just to make sure that there's nothing lingering or something coming on the horizon that you might have missed. So that's what a professional is there to do. And most millionaires and multi-millionaires and billionaires, they all have financial planners and multiple financial planners in different areas. So you need to build your financial team so they're guiding you along the way. This is not a do-it-yourself type of project. This is your life, and the amount of study and effort that goes into it to do this type of business. There's so much information out there that's competing. You don't know what's right and what's wrong. So you need somebody who's licensed, who knows what the heck they're talking about to go out there to be able to help and guide you, especially if this is something that's important to you as your future.
So at what point should you like sit down with a professional to start planning that out?
As soon as possible, literally. Like if you're, I would say as early, like for example, my daughter's 10, like it's not like she's gonna sit down with a financial advisor. However, she's having those discussions about how money works. So you want to start that discussion with your parent. And then after the parent, bring your parents and get them involved to sit down with a financial professional to make sure that their finances are in a good place, but also that you're preparing your future as well. Because there's a lot of strategies that you need time for them to work. So time is your biggest asset. So the sooner you start, the sooner you can start getting into these strategies, the sooner your compound interest starts to take effect. And you could put less money in because you have more time versus someone who has 5 to 10 years from retirement. They got to put a whole bunch of money in, which they might not have. And therefore, they're not going to retire the way that they envisioned. And I've seen a lot of people, they're really depressed about that. They're like, wow, I wish I had started sooner. So to answer your question, the earlier, the better. And work with somebody who's going to spend time to educate you, not just sell you on a product, but teach you the process so that you can make wise decisions throughout your life.
Thank you.
Fantastic questions. Any others? All right. So the last speaker, Douglas, I don't know if you go by Doug or Douglas, but you talked about credit, and credit is so critical to your finances. But before you can play the credit game, you must know the rules. So one of the things I want to show you is this video that I found that was very intriguing that talks about the current state of credit cards, which is impacting our credit scores, and how there's good debt and bad debt. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But I want to play this video first for you. So let me know if you can see this. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Hopefully you can hear the volume. So let me know if you can't. So I'm gonna push play here. Of course, after this second commercial.
Credit card debt in the U.S. has reached a staggering record high, topping $1 trillion for the first time. This, according to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, as millions of cardholders carry balances month after month, year after year. CNBC's senior personal finance correspondent Sharon Epperson joins us now with strategies to help them pay it off. You got to pay it off. Their interest rates are so high.
You have to pay it off. But it's inflation and robust spending that's really helped push Americans' overall credit card balances past the $1 trillion mark in the second quarter. And that's according to New York Fed researchers. After a series of Fed rate hikes, interest rates, though, on credit cards have now risen to over 20% on average. And that's making it an extremely expensive way to borrow money for Americans using credit cards to cover basic household costs and many other expenses, too.
It's not just folks who absolutely have to use cards. It's folks who are doing it because they want to. Maybe they're investing in a small business or remodeling a house or whatever the reason might be. You have folks with a lot of money who are running up credit card debt.
And many of them are carrying that debt for months or even years. So here are a few strategies to help pay it off. First, call your card issuer and ask for a lower annual percentage rate. A Lending Tree survey found about 3/4 of consumers who asked for a lower rate in the past year got one. Also, try to snag a 0% interest balance transfer card. These cards offer 12, 15, even 20 months with no interest on transfer balances. Now, once you get one, you got to be aggressive about paying off as much of the balance as you can during that introductory period. And if you have balances on multiple cards, figure out whether you are going to prioritize paying off the highest interest debt first or start with the smallest balance and work your way up to the largest balance. One strategy isn't necessarily better than the other. Experts say just make a plan, stick to it, and get it done.
Get it done is the most important thing.
That's the most important part.
A lot of consumers will have to make a lot of tough choices when student loan repayments are due again in the fall. So what are some tips, advice that you would give them?
Well, you know, there are tens of millions of people that are carrying debt year after year. And so that is a big concern now with student debt repayments starting in October. That's a big X factor. Will people be able to afford to make their credit card payments? So now is the time that financial advisors are saying, make sure that you find out what you owe. Call the loan servicer, which may be a different one than 3 years ago. Make sure you understand what you may owe if you do an income-driven repayment plan, and that may be a way to cut those monthly payments, maybe even in half. The problem for parents who have loans, those plus loans do not really fall under income-driven repayment plans. So that's going to be really tough. So budgeting and making these hard choices is what people are going to have to do.
But just like any debt also, Sharon, you have to consider the interest rate that you're paying, right?
Yes.
And so your credit card debt might be a much higher interest rate than your student loan debt, and you do have a grace period on your student loan debt.
You have 12 months before it hits your credit report, so that's very important, but I think that's a really important point. This is a variable rate that's going to go higher on credit cards. Fixed rate loans, you know, that's something that you, again, have to prioritize that perhaps higher interest debt and getting that paid off. But finding out if there's some way that you can try to budget those payments, putting that money now in a high yield savings account, that's the silver lining of these interest rate hikes, that we're getting more money on our savings in those high yield accounts. Try to do that so that you're prepared for October or whenever you can finally start to make those payments.
So I would love to hear your perspectives on that. Like anything resonated with you in that talk. There were so many nuggets in there that, you know, I just want to have a broad discussion about what you just heard.
My son and I were just discussing how making minimum payments on a credit card is just simply ridiculous.
Yeah, elaborate on that. Why do you say that? I agree with you.
Like I was explaining to him that if you brought let's say a refrigerator for $700 and you make a minimum payment of $25 a month, you end up spending maybe $1,200 for that same refrigerator in the long run.
Facts. It's a business. The credit card companies are in this not to help you out. They're in this to make money. And they're looking for people who are not going to be able to pay off their balances in a timely manner, meaning every month, so that they can start charging you those high interest rates. Did you know a lot of the credit card companies are public companies, meaning they're traded on the stock exchange, which means they have shareholders that they have to report to. And the shareholders are looking at the state of the economy and looking at the state of the consumer to see if they're spending money, if they're living outside of their means, so that they can charge those interests, which is more revenue for the companies. So think about that. You're contributing to someone else's pension. But you can also use credit cards to leverage yourself if you're smart and if you're paying it off in full every month or have a 0% credit card, things of that nature. There's or getting points. A lot of credit card companies are offering points, travel miles. We use it. I know we get $1,000 minimum every year back on stuff that we're going to spend anyway, and we just pay it off. But that means you have to have the cash flow to be able to do that and take advantage of it and have a budget and restraint. Because a lot of people think when they have a credit card, they have all this money. Yeah, you have money, but it's other people's money. And the money is going to cost you 15 to 25%. especially if you're not paying it off. And if you get into a point where it's a cycle and you continuously have all this debt on the books and you're not able to pay it down, that money can't be diverted to earning a rate of return that's going to build wealth for you. So it's actually eroding your wealth in real time. So you got to be very smart about it. But any other takeaways from that video that we just played?
I think just the overall thing is just living within your means. I mean, I understand like the cycle of getting into debt. Like both my parents like made those same mistakes. Like when they started out, they like, oh, we have a credit card, I have all this money. And so they were in severe credit card debt for a while. And then, but now, like this is years later, they're like, my dad is adamant. He pays it off immediately. As soon as he puts it on his card, pays it off. That's not going to carry over for the next month. So it's like just using the credit card, like all things responsibly, living within your means, making sure you have that money or you're going to be able to get that money to pay it off immediately. Like only times is emergencies, but like we kept talking about, make sure you have funds for emergencies so you don't fall into this trap.
Wow. I think we have a future financial advisor on the call. Well, fantastic. I mean, you hit all the points right there. That was great. A lot of good points there. There's another point they brought up about the double-edged sword of rates, inflation going up and rates going up. There's actually some positives with that, right? What else is tied to an interest rate that could benefit you? Think about it. Maybe for the parents. Parents, what do you think? With the interest rates going up, is that all bad? I'm gonna give you the answer.
If I may,
please.
If I may speak, I think while it's usually seen as bad, I think like if you have interest rates on your savings account, that might be a good thing because you're gaining more. And I think just good interest in general. I don't know if you talked about the difference between bad interest and good interest, but like good interest, like in the case of a savings account, are something where you could gain more off of interest. I think that's beneficial.
Fantastic. That's the point. So this site, I have this site up here for a reason. Am I sharing my screen still? Can you guys see this bank rate up on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So here's a great resource for you to go in for credit cards, to go see what the best credit cards are out there that's paying 0%, things of that nature, based on your credit report. And it will kind of give you a good sense of the best credit cards for every single month. But what I really wanted to show you is the best savings accounts or high yield savings accounts. If you have all your money in a Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citi, whatever account that's paying 0.05% or 0.01%, then we need to talk because there's accounts paying significantly more for your money just sitting in a bank, and there's no reason why it should just be sitting there making no money and making the banks all the money. Look at it. Look at these interest rates: 5%, 4.75%, no minimums, no fees. Like, this is crazy. I haven't seen this. This is pretty impressive for you not to be at risk in the stock market and still making these kind of returns on your money that's safe and liquid. So this is pretty impressive, especially if you have accounts for your kids and things of that nature. I'm not making a recommendation. I'm just saying, do your research and see what's out here. And here's a great tool to do your research to find out what savings accounts are paying well. Now, you also want to look at the 5-star FDIC insured, right? 0%, no minimums, no fees. So you want to do your research for that and only work with banks that you've heard of or you're familiar with. Now, these are all virtual banks. So it's not going to be your brick and mortar bank. I think Capital One might have some pretty decent interest rates and they have a brick and mortar, but you got to get used to online banks. I'm like, this is a new world we're in. And, kind of old school way of thinking is, I got to go to the bank physically. I got to go in and go talk to the teller and build that relationship. Those days are done. It's all about money, right? So if you just link it to your Wells Fargo and you move the money over to your virtual bank, very respectable banks, and have your money sitting there making 4 or 5% for you. Now, these will fluctuate as the rates change, but this gives you a good sense of where you should go to go look and do some research. Any questions on that?
Yes.
Any questions? Are we good? All right. So why credit is important? Credit gives an individual the power to purchase something they may not have the money for now and pay it back over time. Point in case, mortgages. I mean, who got $1 million to go buy a house right now in cash? No, you're going to leverage a mortgage. But in order for you to get a good mortgage with good rates and good terms, you got to show that you're credit worthy. This is your credit report card. So everybody had a report card in school. We looked at your transcript before we admitted you into college. Transcripts are important when you're getting a job. Credit reports are also important when you're getting a job because they want to see how reliable you are. Like employers, landlords, before they rent a house to you, they want to say, am I going to get my money back? Or is this somebody who's going to tear my place up and not going to pay me? Doesn't mean that that's going to happen, but that is what they use as a litmus test to see where you are and how responsible you are. So you want to keep this credit report clean.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yep.
Hey, I'm sorry. I was asking, can you please post that in the chat, the link to the site that you were on before about the comparing the different rates and things of that nature?
I got you.
Thank you.
So you also want to look at what is a credit report. Let's look at this right quick. A credit report is a written account of your credit history with other institutions. It details when you establish credit with the creditor, the amount you borrowed, your payment history, and Doug, he mentioned that you got to pay on time, and account closures. So they want to look at that. How often should you review your report? At least annually, just like you're doing your annual checkup at your doctor and you're meeting with your financial advisor at least annually. You want to look at your credit report annually as well, but for multiple reasons. One is to protect your identity because there's a lot of thieves out there, people trying to take your identity, hack into accounts and things of that nature. So you want to make sure everything on there is accurate. Then you want to stay informed of what you have, because one of the things that lenders are going to look at is your debt to income ratio. So they're going to look at how much debt you have on the books versus how much debt you're allowed to have based on your credit limits. And they want to look at your income to that debt that you've extended to see what your debt to income ratio is. And if it's over a certain percentage, then they're going to say you're overextended, you got too much debt and you're living above your means. So you want to keep those amounts low. And you want to look at this before you apply for a major loan to determine what your credit worthiness is. How do you access your credit report? You're going to go to annualcreditreport.com. It's free. You can get an annual credit report. And there's 3 credit bureaus that track and provide a credit report on you. So there's reporting that all of the companies, credit card companies, they'll report it every month to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. So you want to make sure that it's clean on all 3, but you'll at least get one through the annualcreditreport.com. And if you're denied for credit, you can request your credit report as well. Any questions on that? Your credit score. So you got your credit, you got your report card, which tells you all the classes you took and your transcript. But then you want to look at your grades. So your grade in this regard is your credit score. The credit score is going to range from 300 to 850. And there's different models. We won't get into this on this call, but there's so many. People will pull your credit score and you'll have different scores from different sources because they're using different models to calculate your score. So that's for another class. We have a whole class on credit reporting, and this is just like the high level. But just to keep it simple for you, 300 to 850 is your score. You want to be as high as possible on this range. Lenders are considering the 5 C's, your character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. So that's just giving you a little sense of what we're looking at from a credit scoring perspective. Why is it important? Again, lenders are going to use it, employers are going to use it, and the higher the score, the lower the risk to the lender, and it's also going to directly impact your pockets, because the better your score, the lower your interest rate on cars, student loans, mortgages, and it can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars if you have a bad credit score, or prevent you from even buying a house, affording a car, or even being able to afford your student loans. So it's going to have a direct impact on your wealth, and those that have good credit will use credit to their advantage. We'll talk about good uses of credit and bad uses. So how do I check my credit score? So banks and credit card companies, they'll often pull your score and then they can provide it to you as well. You can pay to have it through your credit monitoring agencies, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. Typically, they'll allow you to get one pull on your credit score for free. MyFICO.com, you can go there. CreditWise.com, I use them, that's free, but they use a different model. So keep in mind that might be different than what's reported with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, but it's pretty similar. And Credit Karma, I like them a lot because they'll tell you every month when it's changing. Oh, you did good. They'll send you an email. Fantastic. My score went up 10 points. And they'll allow you to see what drove that change. And then you can make some adjustments from there. Doug, what's going on, man? Tell me.
Oh, no, great. I use Credit Karma. I tell you what, it's the best. It's free. I tell you what, so much it tells you, hey, don't use your card anymore for this period of time. It tells you every single thing you need to do to maintain your credit score. So great resource there.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for that. They also have somewhere you can do some modeling. And I think CreditWise or Credit Karma, they might both do that, where you can do scenarios. And you can say, hey, if I pay off this debt, how would that likely impact my score? So you can make decisions on how much to put on a card. Should I pay it all the way off? Should I just pay a little bit? Because when I saw that one of my scores could improve 50 points if I just paid an additional $400 on the card, and I was thinking about paying it off, but I was like, oh, well, why am I going to pay it off when I just put $400 down? I'm not going to incur any interest, and my score is going to increase 50 points. So you could be strategic in terms of how you improve your score. I know we're running out of time, and I got a ton of information I could go through, but I'm going to kind of get down to a little bit of myths and facts. So myth, checking your credit report lowers your credit score. That is not true. Checking your own score does not impact your score. Using debit cards helps your credit score. False. Even if you use credit at the checkout, using a debit card is the same as using cash and does not affect your credit. So you need a credit card to start showing credit on your credit report, because that's what's going to be reported on your credit report, not your debit cards. Reasons to use debt: leverage, purchasing assets that are going to appreciate over time. So great tool. If you can use it properly, you can build significant wealth if you use debt properly. Appreciating assets, anything that's going to create value. Anything that does not create value, you're using a credit card and you're not paying it off, you're losing money. So we talked a little bit about this, but other good uses of debt, we talked about real estate, appreciating assets like artwork, things of that nature. Investing in education, only if you're going to use that education to generate some revenue stream in the future. You can have a ton of student loan debt and you're not doing anything in the field that you studied for. That was a bad investment. Tell you that right now, because again, schools is a business. So they're there to attract you to take your dollars, but hopefully you use it to your benefit to generate more dollars that will compound over time. Using debt to start a business, another good thing. Bad is credit cards, and depreciating assets. Hope that gets the point for us. Choosing the right credit card, look for the lowest interest rate possible. Choose cards with no fees or lowest fees possible. Cash back, travel points, other perks. Explore balance transfer options to avoid paying interest. We never pay interest on credit cards. Always have a 0% card, but again, that requires you to have good credit report, and a great score to be able to be eligible for those type of cards. And you'll see that on that bankrate.com that I just provided. They'll say, all right, what's your credit score? Are you an excellent credit score? Are you good? Are you fair? Are you poor? And then it's going to recommend the cards, and you're going to see the major difference in the credit rate, in the ratings, the rate that you're going to pay on those cards and the perks, and how long the 0% interest lasts. So the better that's why they say the rich get richer. You know, that's what happens. They have all the perks and they get a lot of things that most of us others don't, that don't take care of their finances or have a financial planner guiding them through this process. Ways to manage debt. So pay yourself first. Start saving. Don't put all your money towards debt, because what happens when emergency happens? You're going back into debt. And that can be very your confidence can be decreased significantly under those circumstances. Because like, man, I spent all this time paying down my debt. Now an emergency happened. I put all of it towards the debt. I have no savings. Now I'm going back into debt. Cut spending, stop borrowing. Cut yourself off. Do yourself a favor. It's going to be painful, but it's like ripping Band-Aid. Rip it off fast. Later, you'll be enjoying, well, you guys are not old enough, but a mocktail on the beach somewhere. Pay more than the minimum payment. Somebody mentioned that, one of the parents. Absolutely. Pay as much as you can down while also paying yourself, as a balancing act. Consider restructuring your debt, moving to a 0% card. Consolidate multiple credit cards to one card with a lower rate or 0% interest. Call the credit card company and ask for a lower rate. I've seen that. I've seen when I call and say, hey, I paid all my payments on time. I'm a good customer. Can you lower my rate? They're like, look, yeah, okay, well, I think we can do that. Or if you had an interest charge and be like, hey, can you take the interest charge off? I've seen them where they just take it off. They're like, hey, you've been they'll allow you to get away with that 1 or 2 times. But after that, then you make sure you pay off your balance in full or get a 0% card. Cut up your cards, but do not close them. You close your card, your score is going to go down because it's based on your history. The longer the history is, the better your score. So you want to keep that history long, keep the cards open, but just don't use them. And if you have temptation, cut them up. And then stop credit card solicitations that come to the house. You can call the number, opt out. And so you're not even tempted by all these credit card offers just coming in the mail. There's something in I've called before for interest rate reduction. They will discontinue your card at times or reduce credit availability due to non-use it. Yes. So if you're not using your card, that can happen in some cases. And so you want to be mindful of that and maybe just charge it $5 or $10, pay it off. Just keep it active. If you have a credit card company, it will close the account because it's not active. So be mindful of that, because that can mess you up if the history on it is very long and you haven't used it. Charge $10, $15, go get a cup of coffee, pay it off, and then that should refresh it for another couple months. I learned it happened to me during Yep, exactly. What happened. All right, that's all I have for you. Because after this, I'm going out on the grill. And we're about to eat some good food. I got some steaks waiting for me. So I'll pause there for any questions.
Jonathan, I have a question, and you might have covered it, but I want to get you to just retouch on it. In terms of our school students or current college students and credit cards, how should they handle credit cards right now? Should they be an authorized user on one of their parents? What do you advise for young adults who are, in school in terms of starting to build their credit and what they might want to start with?
Yeah, they could do an authorized. I mean, they could do that, or just get a credit card with a small limit on it. $500 limit. Use it for gas and groceries, and then pay it in full. Like, do not carry a balance. But that's a great way. If you're gonna spend money anyway, put on the credit card and pay it off. And then that way you start building your history early, which is going to prepare you to buy a house sooner than later, because they're going to want to see a credit history. They're not just going to lend you hundreds of thousands of dollars with no credit history, but then you can also get a family member or somebody to co-sign, but then they're on the hook. So you got to start thinking about that. I see a couple people I just added my daughter this week as authorized user 500. Yep, exactly. Just start there. I think that's a good way. And then eventually give them their own card, so it's in their name, and you're helping them manage it, and you're tracking it. We track expenses in our household every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, we're putting all of our expenditures in a spreadsheet by category. And in fact, my wife, she doesn't like that activity that we do, but it's very helpful. I've been doing it for the last decade. I know every expenditure that I've ever spent for the last 10 years, but I'm very anal in that regard, but that's kept me on track, because every 2 weeks you can make adjustments. If you wait till the end of the month, it's too late. You got money at the beginning of the month and no money at the end of the month, and you're like, I don't know what happened. And then the cycle continues. You got no savings, no investments, you got no life insurance, and you're in the same perpetual cycle, not creating generational wealth for your family.
Very good point. I mean, it sounds like a really good practice. It would give me a little bit of anxiety, but only because it's the discomfort with the accountability part of knowing where your money goes. But it sounds like, depending on what your financial goals are, that's going to tell you if you're on track to meeting them or not, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I just add this, that I used Intuit, and it actually pulls every single transaction that I have. So there's no way I can ignore it. It's right there in my face. So it's a very intuitive tool, because, you know, of course you got to allow it to track everything. You know, you attach all your accounts, but it is secured. But I know exactly from day one of the month to the end of the month what I spent money on, what I didn't, what's due and what's not. And it's all automatic.
Can you repeat the name of the tool you use again?
It's called Intuit. If you Google that, it is a free tool to use. It tracks. You would have to physically put in every account that you have, your credit cards, your payment, everything that you have. But once you do that, it will to the penny tell you where you are, and it will send you alerts. It will let you know when something's due, when it's past due, what you got coming in, what you got going out.
Thank you.
Let me put it in the chat. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jonathan? I think this was very informative for our high schoolers, college students, parents, others, all of us on here. I love these conversations. And I'll tell you, I met Jonathan a few years ago. He was doing some community work with our AKA chapter, and we actually go to the same church. But I've heard him speak in other places around some of these same topics for adults and for youth. And we also serve on the same nonprofit foundation, the Buffy Foundation Incorporated. And I'll tell you, he's a wealth of knowledge, another entrepreneur stepping out with his own business. So a lot of themes you're hearing over the last 2 days around some of the areas. We're talking about funding, having a plan, using your resources differently and your time. So any other questions for Jonathan before he puts his food on the grill?
And then if you want to reach out to me, Dr. Christie has my information. Set up a discovery meeting. We'll sit down, discuss your finances. And if you're interested, we'll build a financial plan for you, college savings plan. Very comprehensive view of where you are, but also let's understand where you're going and build a strategy to get there. So I'm happy to help, especially if it has to do with insurance, anything of that nature, because that's your legacy.
Can you put your site in the chat real quick too, if you haven't already? And I'll tell you, so I think what I heard Jonathan say was that even parents and high school, middle school students, college students, it's not too early to reach out to him and get support for your financial planning and your financial investment profile, whether you're trying to save for college, beyond, you're in the middle of it, you need to get ahead of it. Reach out to him, get a consult, and he can get you pointed in the right direction.
And I'll put my Calendly in there as well. But yeah, I look forward to working with all of you, and we're having a lot of classes. So email us if you're interested in being in some of our future classes that we have coming up. And I'll put you on the distro for that. If you email us your contact information, your name, phone number, and we'll go from there.
All right. Thank you.
Fantastic. Have a great
round of applause, y'all. As we transition, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciated getting really insightful information from both of our featured guests, Mr. Witherspoon and Mr. Wright, this afternoon. Very informative. As much as we love to talk about careers and getting to college and what we're going to do next, it's also important to talk about opportunities and options and investments and how to position ourselves early as you can in life. The earlier you can position yourself strategically, the better off you'll be. You don't have to work as hard when you get older, and you'll have a lot more fruits of your labor over time. So that is the absolute value of having guests like Mr. Witherspoon and Mr. Wright joining us. Now we are, believe it or not, we are at the final stages of our program, where we are going to have closing remarks. I know y'all don't want no more opening remarks from me, but closing remarks, and we are going to announce our scholarship winners. So I'm going to get okay, there we go. Hopefully everybody can see my slides. Please let me know if you're having a hard time seeing my slides. All right, I'm not hearing anything or seeing anything in the chat. So we're going to move forward for closing remarks. So first, I want to say thank y'all for spending time with us over the last day or so. Every August, it's on my spirit. God put it on my spirit to host this no matter what I'm doing. Last year I had COVID, but I was rolling myself out of bed, still hosting this summit, and I have other things going on, but this is critical. And I want to grow the number of students, and I want to grow the number of scholarships that we offer to young people as a part of this program. So if you are affiliated or you know others who would like to sponsor scholarships, 100% of the money goes back out into the community for the students to make sure that we help do our part. If you spend your time with me, this is my philosophy, on a Saturday afternoon and a Sunday afternoon, there should be some benefits to you. And so that's the reason why I certainly try to offer some scholarships in what we're doing. So I do want to launch a very 5-question poll. It's just launching now because I need your feedback. In order for us to keep this going, I'd love to know what you think about what we've done over the last 2 days, what we've shared. For those of us who are guests who just recently joined in yesterday, we spent time yesterday talking about having a college and career plan, how to brand yourself, how to make sure you have a scholar profile, which is like a 1-page resume, how to assess your different options in terms of careers and majors, how to strategically fund college, and how to search for scholarships. And then today it was kind of an entrepreneur financial track. We talked about entrepreneurship, how young people can start their own businesses as early as their teens and in their 20s, and then real estate. On the career side of real estate, what it takes to get licensed, what does it take to become a homeowner in your 20s? And then we ended just now with Mr. Wright sharing about financial planning and getting ahead of how to position yourself from a financial standpoint. So a lot of great topics covered. Every year we try to incorporate new topics, but keeping some of the core topics because we think young people need to have certain information every year. And we do it in August because we want to reach students before the school year starts so that you can get off to the best track that you can. So thank you all for, I think about 12 of you have taken the poll so far. Or no, it looks like 26 out of 31 of you. So thank you. 83% participation is really great for any poll, really. But thank you. And it's not too late if you still want to. I'll leave that poll open. But as we position and transition, if you missed us yesterday, or you didn't do the scholarship assignment I gave out yesterday afternoon, students yesterday had to apply for scholarships from me in order to get entered today for an opportunity to get awarded one of the scholarships we're about to give out. But one of the things I asked students to do was join my exclusive group, Scholarships with an S for Scholars, on either Facebook, Instagram, or my TikTok channel at Christie, because I post scholarships I hear about. from individuals who have a hard time finding students. I can find the students, I just don't have the money. So that's a match made in heaven. So if I hear about scholarships that not a lot of students know about, I'm going to be posting them in these groups along with internships and other opportunities. So you're going to want to join it if you have not already. Also, if you use the QR code or the link at the bottom, I post a lot of videos on my Invest in Others page. They're free. And so if you have any topics related to college and careers and you want to surf and find out what else is Miss Christie or Dr. Christie talking about on these topics, feel free to watch those videos on my YouTube channel. And keep in mind, we will make these slides available to you so you don't have to write them down if you don't want to. And then I heard Mr. Douglas and Mr. Wright share different links with us. So as they were talking, I actually put them in a slide. Those will be in the slide deck too, for those that we heard them mention. And I would be remiss if I didn't say save the date. I already have the dates for next year's summit. It's August 10th and 11th, 2024. So if you're a middle school, high school, college, young adult, highly encourage you to attend. We're going to have another great summit next August, and my summits will always have a virtual component because I don't know if you guys realize it, but I have reached students across the country with this summit. New Jersey, New York, Florida, Georgia, Colorado, you name it. We have students from all over the place, the DC area, the DMV area. So guess what? I love the virtual aspect. Even if I do some face-to-face component, there will always be a virtual component to the summits that I host. Now, with that being said, for the moment that we've all been waiting for, and you guys honestly have worked really hard to get to this point. So for the 10 individuals who actually applied for the scholarship yesterday afternoon, congratulations. I don't want anybody to walk away discouraged if you did not win a scholarship this year. Take those tools and tips I gave you at the early part of today's session to heart and make sure that you tighten up your application. Pay attention to the detail, follow the instructions, and dot the I and cross the T on everything you do, not just for an application, but I really do believe in putting together quality packages and doing things with excellence, which is the reason why my business is called Educational Excellence, because you're not going to be, it's not perfection, but it's in pursuit of excellence that matters. It means you're consciously thinking about those things and carry those through with your college applications, scholarships, and everything you do from this point on as a young adult. So as we transition, yesterday I asked y'all, if you've attended both days of the summit, you were eligible to apply. You had to be either a current high school, and I did extend it to middle school students, high school student, a current college student, or a student who is pursuing a technical, vocational, or trade degree, a trade school program. They could apply for one of the scholarships. I asked students to provide their GPA, whether they were interested in an HBCU or not. Had to be a US citizen. They had to develop their scholar profile, which is that one-page resume we talked about. And I also had students write a 250-word essay on what were their college and career choices and why were they interested in that college major or that particular career. And then, of course, I asked for a screenshot of my Scholarship for Scholars social media, because I really want to encourage young people to join. Can someone who was with me last year come off of mute, one of the students, and let me know if you joined previously and what you think about the information we put out in those groups? Any brave souls? Parents, students?
I can talk. This is Yasmin.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was here last year and I participated in the virtual summit, and it was definitely a lot of information from last year, but also some new information that I found helpful as far as like the credit scores and things like that, since I am looking to get a credit card soon and also go into real estate as a possible side hustle. So it was definitely very informative this year and last year, and there will be, continual information, I'm sure, on next year as well. So I would definitely suggest to come back next year.
Thank you so much. It's always good to hear the recipients and the benefactors of why I do this share that with y'all instead of me just a talking head, hyping up my own program. But no, this is for young people like Yasmin, like each one of you. And so if it's not valuable, I need to pivot and do something different. But I appreciate hearing that it has been, and we're going to continue to make sure this program adds value. So as we move forward, we asked the students last night to submit their applications. We had 10 applications in, and we're happy to report we can award one $100 scholarship, one $1,000 scholarship, and 4 $500 individual awards each. And those funds can be used, those checks will be sent directly to the students, not the schools, but to the students. So that's why y'all full address is important. You don't want to miss out on the money, and you don't want Dr. Christie to have to go to the next person on her list. So we want to make sure you can use these funds. If you are in high school and you're not graduating yet, you can use it for your SAT and ACT fees, registration or prep courses. If you're in college, you can use it for all those, or headed to college, all those application fees we talked about. Or if you're currently in college, tuition, room and board expenses, supplies, all the things you need to matriculate. And if you are interested in real estate, let's say you want a $500 scholarship and you wanted a real estate license, for example, perfect time. You can get in a course and pay for the exam. So we want to invest in you, into your future with what we're doing. Please note a couple of things. One, I will, as I am receiving the scholarship funds from the donors, those checks will be mailed out to you. Feel free to reach out to me if you think I've forgotten about you. I haven't, but feel free to reach out and say, hey, gentle nudge, still waiting on my scholarship check, but I have all my commitments and I'm going to turn it right back around to you. And secondly, I may be reaching out if I haven't been able to verify your enrollment, your acceptance, or your GPA. I will circle back around before I issue any check to make sure that what you put in your application holds to be true. If not, we'll go to the next person on our list. So I just want to be transparent about that. I would be remiss if I didn't pause and thank those entities and individuals who provided scholarships to us. Dr. Marvette Thomas with the Buffy Foundation, she has donated $1,500 towards this year's scholarships. And I know, I don't think she's on the call, but if she is, I'd love for her to come off mute and share with us and introduce herself. And I don't think she is, but I know Magnus Temple number 3, the ancient Egyptian Arabic order nobles, mystic shrine of North and South America and its jurisdictions. I know that's long, but I refer to them as Magnus Temple 3. They have been very generous as well. And I want to thank them for their $1,000 donation to our summit this year. And this is a new donor for us. So certainly we want to thank you for believing in what we're doing and supporting our youth and investing in them. Is someone from that organization on and who'd like to share a few words?
Yes, Dr. Christie. My name is Luscious Potentate Matty Knox. I represent Magnus Temple number 3. I just want to thank you for your organization and congratulations to the recipient. But I'm going to use the rest of my time and turn it over to my committee chair that did this hard work in finding this Nova Prather. If you on, sir, can you say a few words?
Yes, sir. Illustrious Potentate. Yes, sir, I am. Dr. Murray, hey, thanks for being the vehicle for Magnus Temple, who does a lot of great work in the community. And part of our vision from our illustrious potentate and our higher organization is giving back to the community. So definitely Educational Excellence Incorporated played a big part in our mission to, one, give back to the community, and then two, as one of the prerequisites, is to assist a graduating high school student in their quest to attend a historical Black college and university. So as the illustrious potentate Matty Knox stated, thank you again for being a vehicle for this. We look forward to 2024 and being a partner with you also. So thank you again, Dr. Murray.
And thank you both. I appreciate your comments and your support. And I'm sure on behalf of all of our youth, very much appreciated. And we look forward to continued partnerships, increasing the investment that we can pour back into our communities. And then we also have 2 additional sponsors. Ultimus IT was a sponsor this year, donating $500, and Chambliss Consulting LLC donated $100 to support our students. So with that being said, we're going to move right into our scholarship awards. Our first scholarship award recipient from the Buffy Foundation goes to Jaden Tanner. Round of applause to Jaden. He is a high school senior with a 3.7 GPA from Newton College and Career Academy, and from Covington, Georgia, not Virginia, but Georgia. And he's interested in going to school next year, going to college next fall, majoring in mechanical and aerospace engineering. So he's in his high school senior year, and congratulations for your $500 scholarship award. And I don't know, Jaden.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, tell us about your experience real quick about the summit while I have you on mic.
The summit, I've noticed it's been very informational about things that I want to learn, that I need to know to further advance in life and just know what to do so I don't set myself up for bad things to come in the future, and basically always be prepared for things to happen.
Much appreciated. Being prepared matters. So thank you very much. Very much.
No, thank you.
Up to you. You put these funds to good use. And our next scholarship award recipient is Miss Eden Powell. And she is a recipient of the Buffy Foundation Incorporated $500 scholarship. Eden is a high school senior with a 3.8 GPA, and she's attending Campbell High School in Mableton, Florida. And she's interested in majoring in biology and biomedical science as she pursues her college interest next year this time. So congratulations to Eden. Eden, if you are on, come off mute and share a couple of words with us.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, I can't believe I won. Your summit was really good and it was really beneficial, especially for the future. So I want to thank you for that.
You're absolutely welcome, and best of luck to you too. And with all these college applications y'all have, put these funds to good use. Our third recipient, Miss Kennedy Sarpong. She is a recipient of the Buffy Foundation Inc. Scholarship Award of $500. She is currently in college. She's a sophomore with a 3.01 GPA, attending North Carolina A&T, which is an HBCU. And she currently resides, or she's from Washington, D.C., and she wants to major in kinesiology. So Kennedy, come off of mute and share a few words and tell us what kinesiology is for those who might not know.
Well, first I want to say thank you. And it was this summit was very informative, especially when I met you at the Boys and Girls Club over this summer. It was very informative listening to you talk and teach us things. And kinesiology is the study of the bodily movements. And with that, I want to become an athletic trainer in the NFL.
Phenomenal. Excellent. All right. Fantastic. And congratulations to you, Kennedy. I'm sure you can put those funds while you're currently in college to good use. And I look forward to playing you guys. Hampton plays you guys on homecoming. So I want to offer my condolences ahead of time. All right, next we're going to move to Miss Anjali. I'm going to butcher your last name, Gaforakhan. I hope I'm close. And you were the recipient of the Ultimus IT scholarship in the amount of $500. She is a high school senior with a 4.4 GPA from Garfield High School in Woodbridge, Virginia. And she's interested in majoring in international affairs when she goes to college. Congratulations, Anjali. And please pronounce your name correctly for me and share any remarks you might have.
Thank you. It's pronounced Anjali. I really appreciate everything that you've done during the summit. It was very informative. I appreciate how you went far beyond just preparing us for college, but trying to prepare us for life in terms of financial literacy and the different ways to accumulate generational wealth. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you very much. And as a high school senior again, put the funds to good use. You'll have lots to do. If y'all following my program, what y'all plan, my seniors keep in touch with me. You guys have a lot going on this upcoming school year. And next up, Ms. Amatula Benjamin. She's the recipient of the Chambliss Consulting LLC scholarship in the amount of $100. So congratulations. She's a high school senior with a 3.9 grade point average from West Caldwell Tech in Orange, New Jersey. So, and she's interested in majoring in creative writing when she goes to college. Great essay, by the way, Amatula, and best of luck to you. And come off of mute and share any remarks you might have.
Thank you for choosing me for this scholarship. And I want to talk about when I first met you, you came and talked to my school, West Caldwell Tech, and you gave books out. And I really appreciated the books. I went home, I marked it up, I read them. You gave so much facts, so much good advice for not just high school, for college and beyond that. So thank you very much.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And best of luck to you. And if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And that goes for everyone. And then I want to move on. So the Magnus Temple Scholarship Award goes to Ms. Yasmin Goodrich in the amount of $1,000. So congratulations, Yasmin. Yasmin is a college freshman with a 4.27 GPA leaving high school, headed to the Hampton University this fall. And she's from Chesapeake, Virginia, interested in pharmaceutical science or PharmD, a PharmD degree from Hampton University. Now, Yasmin was a recipient of this award for several reasons. One, she scored really high with the scholarship package she submitted in all the areas we evaluated, but she also met the criteria. The Magnus Temple has specific criteria for the scholarship that they wanted to award. A high school senior going to a historically Black college or university with at least a 2.5 and living in the state of Virginia. So those criteria put you in the right pool. You know what this goes back to? Our conversation yesterday when I talked about narrowing down what you're doing, because it helps you to qualify for scholarships that really align with your uniqueness. So congratulations, Yasmin, if you want to come off mute and share anything as well.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you again. It was definitely informative, like all the other recipients have said. I was on my senior year and I'll be going to Hampton University, as she mentioned, in the fall, and I'm really excited about that. So I just wanted to thank the sponsors who are reinvesting in students to become scholars, and just thank you again.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Yasmin, send me a text and let me know what dorm you're in at Hampton. I'm just curious. Thank you. And I want to give, this is the first time I've done an honorable mention because there may be some additional scholarship funds coming up soon. And if so, I'm still confirming an additional scholarship. But I want to give an honorable mention to Bethany Tolley. Bethany, I think this is your third year. I think she's been at every summit I've had. She is a college sophomore. I remember when she was in high school, she was a senior in high school attending. And she has a 4.0 GPA from Colorado Christian University. And she's from Colorado and she's majoring in strategic communication. So I want to say, Bethany, your package was strong. There were a few others rated a little bit higher, but as more funds come available, I will go back to my list and start giving out more money based on your scores for you and others who are still on my list and who had the courage and took the time to apply. So Bethany, I don't know if you have any comments about your experience over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yes, thank you so much. And yeah, I've really enjoyed all 3 years that I've been able to do it. I've learned so much about college, and I think it's definitely helped me, specifically in like my freshman year and now going into my sophomore year. So yes, thank you for all of the resources that you've given me and everyone that's going into college.
Excellent. Thank you all very much. So those are all of the scholarships we are awarding this year, but I would be remiss if Miss Christie wasn't giving out her own giveaways as well. So I also have recipients of my college planning and college funding books. So I will make sure, I need to make sure I have Evan Johnson, Leela Underwood and Rakaya Rakaya, I hope I got your last name right. I'm sorry, I might have been typing fast. Rakaya Thomas, I'm sorry, that should be Thomas. Congratulations, you all are the recipients of my college planning book and workbook set. So I will send those out to you. Please send me a direct message in the chat if I don't have your address. I think I have Alila and Rakaya's email, your physical addresses. And then I'm planning to gift my college funding book and workbook to Mr. Desmond Cook, Omia Gaines Howard, and Ivy Johnson. So congratulations on those giveaways. And I also want to thank Mr. Witherspoon, and I did get the emails from you all who will also be getting giveaways from the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book that he referenced that he would be donating. So congratulations to all of you. And thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us at our summit this year. And as I wrap up, I just want to say hosting this summit is probably one of the more meaningful things that I do, or just spending time with young people and families talking about how to position yourselves well. So I'm honored. It's both an honor and a privilege for me to have this opportunity. Again, I want to thank all of our scholarship sponsors and donors and all those who invested in our speakers for coming and pouring into our youth. Save the date, and I hope to see you back next August on the 10th and 11th for another phenomenal summit. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoon.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Christie. I did send you an email yesterday, so I
Okay.
know once you get a chance.